and facilitating. All right, so sorry. She's dedicated to training and assisting individuals in reaching their full potential. Her current emphasis is on providing guidance through coaching, mentorship, teaching, and facilitating both on individual basis and within group settings. She will be speaking at Power Mom Support Circle today on navigating corporate ladders, strategies for career advancement. Thank you so much, Ma. You have the floor now.
Good morning. Can everyone see me and hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you, Ma.
Okay, brilliant. On the chat room, can you just pop in where you are and the weather where you are? So, for example, I'm in Oregon and the weather is sunny, beginning to look a bit cloudy. So let's all in the chat room pop in where you are and what the weather is like. Bagada and cloudy, Tomilola. Okay, we see you. Welcome, Tomilola. Lecky and cloudy. Okay. Yaba and cloudy. Adenike says she's in Bergen. Sule and Sonia. Okay, Rachel, send us some sun to the rest of Lagos. Ota. Sunny in Newcastle upon Tyne. Nice. Bergen and cloudy in Norwich. And cloudy sunny. Agbara is cloudy. Akilo is cloudy. Okay, a lot of clouds today. Lagos, Ibadan, Lagos. Are you on the road, Tope? Rainy. It's raining. Ooh, Ajao Estate. Weather is cloudy. Okay, have a good trip, Tope. Yeah, it seems like it's cloudy no matter where we are, from the UK to Agbara to Akilo. It's cloudy and a bit of rain. So welcome everyone. Nice to have you here. And thanks for your very kind introductions, Ariola. Let me know if my slides. So this is me, Ariola. Thank you for your kind introduction. I think the only thing I would add is I'm also I combine all this with having a family. So I have a spouse and I have kids. Yeah, and I'm hoping today that we're going to have a conversation. Ariola, how many minutes do we have?
You have 1 hour to speak, man.
1 hour. Okay. So I'm
If we
going to
can
try and
take question and answers within the 1 hour, it's fine. But if you like to speak for the whole 1 hour, it's fine. We're
okay.
just
All
16
right.
minutes into the event, so if you can speak to, yeah, maybe for 15 minutes thereabouts. Thank you,
Okay.
man.
So we have a hard stop at 1. Is that it? Or 1:10? Which is it?
Okay, we can stop at 110. 110 is
Okay.
fine.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to try and keep the talk, most of it, to 45 minutes. I think the value in this is the conversations, the Q&A, because I think some of what I'm going to be sharing with you won't be rocket science, but the value of what we'll get out of it is the conversations based on your experiences, and we can talk and discuss, what you'd like to do, things that are on your mind. Is that okay? I like people chatting with me or dropping things in the chat box. So if you have any comments, just pop it in. Wave of hands if you're okay with the flow I am proposing. Okay, thank you. So the first thing I'm going to say about navigating your career is that a career is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Most of us work for 30, 40 years of our lives, depending on, our health, if the Lord tarries, if we're alive. So career is not a sprint. It's something we're going to do for a pretty long time. And so we should treat it in that regard, that it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. And the way you run, if you look at sprinters and you look at marathoners, the way they train and the way they run is quite different. A sprinter wants to put in all their energies into a burst and run and stop and end. But a marathoner needs to pace themselves and understand the terrain they're going to go through, and keep the energy even when the finish line looks far away. They know they still need to get to the finish line. So the way you treat a marathon and the way you treat a sprint is quite different. So first things first is to realize that it's a marathon and you're in it for the long haul, you're looking at about 30, I don't know, 30, 40 years of your life where you're going to be having this thing called a career. Okay, so that's the first point. The next point is the corporate ladder is not, when you look at this picture, what comes to your mind? What do you see? Tell me what you think when you see this picture. Pop it in the chat box. Am I John the Baptist, the voice of spiral stairs? Yes. When you see spiral stairs, what comes to your mind? Thank you. Who else is there? Twists and turns. Thank you, Marvelous. Twists and turns, yes. What else? Yes, someone else says twists and turns. Palm circle. Yes. What else comes to your mind? Different levels and twists. iPhone, you didn't put your name, so I can't acknowledge who is typing this. Different levels, yes, and twists, yes. Anything else? Scattered vision. Tosin, tell me a bit more about scattered vision. When you say scattered vision, what do you mean? Spiral, Tomo. Learning curves, Moyosola. I like that. Learning curves. Um, I'm still waiting to spiral steps, semicircular motion, not a straight road, yet you keep moving upwards. Yes. My eyes turn on spiral stairs to see, okay, understand. Ooh, twists and turns, cyclical movement. Yeah, a twirl. Yeah. So when I try and merge this with career, what do you think I'm talking about? And I say the corporate ladder, and I've used um a twisty spiral steps. What do you think I mean? I put a corporate ladder and I put spiral steps. I put those two together. What do you think it means? Constant motion growth. Yes, it means Tosin. It means everything is in phases. Yes, Tosin. Power moms, Ariola, I guess that's you typing. You're saying constant motion and growth. Tosin says movement too. What else? When I put those two things together. Different stages that comes with different levels. Yes. I think the other thing, it's not, yes, Tokwe, that is a bingo. It's not straightforward. Yes, Moyo Sore says it's not a sprint. You have to learn to go in the direction. Different Ariola, yes, different ways to reach a goal. It's not easy. Lydia Data says it's not easy going up the steps, but you have to advance your career. Yeah, I think the point I'm trying to make is Ariella says she finds spiral steps really stressful. I know. But sometimes that's the way a career feels too. It feels sometimes very stressful. And Ariella made the point about the stress that stretches you. Ooh, I'm really sorry. You get dizzy on them and scared you may fall. But your career doesn't have to be that way. The point I'm making is a career is not a straight line or a straight set of steps from point A to point B. It goes in different directions. Sometimes it goes twists and turns. Sometimes there are different stages. It's not straightforward. So when you have in mind that your career is not going to, you don't expect your career to go in a very straight line, that also sets your mindset about, okay, when you see some things happening, you're already aware that, okay, this is how a career goes. Even your different assignments or the different skills you take don't always all line up. And you shouldn't expect that after point A, I'm going to point B. Sometimes it seems you are going in a different direction, but then you ultimately come back. They all add up to where you're going to. Okay? Next thing I'll say is good talent is scarce. As an HR person, I can tell you this for a fact. How many of us are moms here who hire nannies or domestics? Show of hands if you have an employee, a domestic employee, you have a nanny, maybe you have a driver, or you have a washman, you have a cook, you have someone who helps you in some capacity and you pay. Show of hands, yes. iPhone, I really would like you to write your name because it's very funny to say iPhone. Yeah, so yeah, you raise your hand. Is she the only one on the call who has um Let me ask you, how easy is it to get a good domestic, nanny, driver, washman, cook, gardener, whatever? Yeah, comfort with your two hands, I see. How easy is it to find people in this category? Good people. How easy is it to find good people? Is it very easy to find good? Justina is the name. So exactly, really hard. Don't think it is very, it's very hard as I know, not easy. Domestics as talent. They are very hard. It is the same thing in the corporate world. I can tell you for free as an HR person who deals with is scarce. What that means is valuable, correct? What that means for us is make ourselves, develop ourselves to good talent, great talent. There are lots of us because good talent is scarce. Something is scarce. So if we can make ourselves good talent, and if you are good talent, you are sought after. I tell you that for a good career is it's about the results. Remember, qualities or characteristics of that result driven, they deliver. When other career, when I have someone that delivers results career and that person's progress, who is who delivers results, excuse the recently I had a friend everyone would think procurement is a support function, as they call them. But she's risen very high and quickly too. And when we're teasing together, we're pricing, trying to find out, okay, let's identify what are those things that made you successful. The big thing was results, and she delivered results in multiple dimensions. So her managers and those who manage her career were only too eager to push her. And because they want her on their team, higher and higher levels. People sometimes ask me, how do I get a sponsor? You get a sponsor by delivering results and being good. And when you do that, the sky is your limit. Okay? To deliver results, you need to solve problems. Don't just go to your bosses or with your teams and just present the problem. It's like when you have a domestic and comes to tell you gas is finished. At that point when gas is finished, what do you want me to do? Think of that person versus one when you get back from home that tells you, oh, madam, when I was cooking today, gas finished. I then took the cylinder. I only had 2,000. I went to buy just 1 kilogram or 1 liter of gas from the store. That will keep us till tomorrow, and so you can give me money to buy it tomorrow. When she says she wants to go, you will offer her more money, right? You will be happy to increase her salary a bit because it makes that person makes your life easier. So as an individual, because I'm talking to us for career advancement, I'll separate it into you, the person, and then the career in itself. If you are not in a particular position or a particular dimension or a particular quality, then advancing your career is just it won't take you very far. That's why you find some people politicking and bootlicking and doing all sorts of funny things. But it only takes them so far, not more. Versus those who themselves. So I'm focusing today on you as a person in the career. So the first thing we said is remember your career is a marathon and not a sprint. It will have twists and turns. It will have different modules and different things that seems not in line with what you thought from A to B. I give you an example of a friend of mine who is currently a brand management director. She's now an expatriate living out of the country. She was given this assignment then. This was 12, 13 years ago, that was called shopper marketing. This was before the days e-commerce became big in Nigeria. And shopper marketing is very directed to e-commerce and high tier one, so retail stores, the big retail stores versus the fragmented ones that we do in Nigeria. And everybody thought, why is she getting this assignment? And the assignment seemed like a dead end assignment. But what she did with that assignment, she turned it around and she focused on adding value to that assignment, that role she got. She she made it a role that was sought after. When she got it, it seemed like a dead end role. You know those kind of roles that they give you, and you're wondering, are they trying to give me a message here? But she took the role and ran with it and transformed that role into a value-adding role. And I dare say it was one of the building blocks that got her to where she is today. At the point when she took that role, it seemed, dead end. What does this have to do? She could have moaned and groaned, you don't like me. My manager just gave me this role to take because it wasn't core brand management. My manager didn't like me, so she gave me this role to take me out of the mainstream of things. But rather, she focused on the role and found what she could do with the role. And based on that, she ran with the role and made that role a success. So she solved problems and she delivered results. Guess what? She's a brand director today. And of her cohorts then that joined the company, she's probably one of the 2 or 3 left in the company. It didn't, if you go back here, it seemed like her career was getting a twist and a turn here. But guess what? By delivering results and by solving problems, that twist that seemed to be taking her off her career, she's going right and this twist went left, it took her further up her career than she would have thought. Okay, so we've said a career is, we're talking about you as a person in the career, you as a person on your career. So solve problems, deliver results, be aware your career is a marathon and not a sprint, and solve problems for people. In solving, you've got to add value wherever you are. So I go back to my friend who was in procurement. And how did she have value? She had a set of skills, and we'll talk about skills in a bit. She had a set of skills that were transferable skills. And when there was a problem elsewhere in the organization that nobody really wanted because they didn't really know what to do with it. So people were sort of, moving back and saying, well, let me focus on my core. She looked at that problem, which wasn't in her core, but she found the skills she had where she was and used those skills to solve that problem and deliver results. She added value even when it wasn't in her direct area of influence. But she had the skill and she thought this was a problem that was troublesome to the entire organization. And so she focused on helping them. It was a government relations problem. It had to do with import duties, and the government was asking us to do something in one way, and no one could really figure it out. And so she decided to take on this problem and run with it. And she helped get that thing we wanted from government. Now, imagine how she's going to be viewed and how she was going to be treated. Of course, people took interest in her. As in, who is this person? So next time there's another problem, people will look to her and say, what do you think? How do you think we can solve it? When you begin to add value, people will look for you and say, okay, let's go and ask for Belinda's opinion. Let's ask for Topper's opinion. The last time, we had the problem, she brought on this brilliant perspective that helps solve it. Let's ask what she thinks. And they turn to you and ask you, what do you think? And when you begin to do that, it's a no-brainer. Your career was only going to rise. Which brings me to the next point in building skills. You've got to build skills. There's no other way. If you look at today, AI is the thing. For those of you in the tech world, I know you guys already have this sorted out, but how are you building skills in this area? So for someone like me in HR consulting, I have learned to use AI in my domain. So build skills. Why are skills important. Skills are a means to an end. You've got to have your technical skills and you have to have your leadership skills. You have to have your soft skills. You need to be self-aware. You need to get 360-degree feedback from those around you. When you're in meetings, how do you show up? When you do tasks, how do you show up? When you know how you show up, then you can course correct, right? And decide how you want, where your gaps are and where your strengths are, and how you can continue to leverage your strengths and build your opportunity areas. We all have individual strengths, and my charge to you is to understand what your strengths are. Let me ask you in the chat room, can you tell me two of your strengths? Just pop in the chat rooms. What strengths have you identified of yourself in your sphere as a corporate person, as a career person, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, as someone who has in-house or external? What strengths have you identified in yourself, and how are you using those strengths? Or what skills have you identified that you're good at, and how are you using those skills? Can you still hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay, so I'm waiting for you to chat in the chat box. What have you identified as your strengths or your skills that you're good at? You're teachable and collaborative. Okay, Olufumilola, thank you for sharing. And how are you using those strengths at work? Thank you for sharing, Olufumilola. Fumilola is the only person I can see. I'm waiting for others. Eyes for details and ability to work with everyone. Talk about how are you using your eyes for detail, problem solving. How are you using this, Ariola? Your problem solving, lateral thinking, brilliant. Being Kemisola say being receptive to constructive based feedback and being able to work on it to become a better version. Lee Dear says, when I start a thing, I don't stop till I'm done. I pay attention to details. Yes, for those who are detail, for those of us who are detail oriented, how are we using this? For those who are collaborative, how are you bringing those? The reason why I'm asking about your strengths is we go further, yes, by using our strengths. Our return on investment using our strengths goes a lot further. And what you think is usually our strengths, we do them very easily. Sensitivity and persistence, Misola, we do them very easily. Now, other people don't probably struggle with them. So when we match this as strengths, we bring them to work. We really, and we partner with people who are strengths at the opportunity areas and vice versa. We really, it's like fuel in a rocket ship. We can go far. Yes, attention to details, problem solving. Brilliant. These problem solving skills, how are we using them at work? Are we using them at work? Resilient and taking ownership. Good. Are we taking ownership? Imagine I'm a business owner, I'm an owner of an organization. If I have someone on my staff that takes ownership of problems, that person is going to be very valuable. Moyosola says creativity and resilience. Yes. Now, as we've identified our strengths, are we using them actively, using them at work? The reason why it's important is when we use our strengths and skills at work, we are better able and better positioned to deliver results. Amanda says being able to work under pressure and inquisitive to learn how to solve problems. Now, are we using this as strengths at work? Are we proactively conscious of them and using them at work? That's the next step. So the first step is identifying them. The next step is then using the skills at work to remember, deliver results and solve problems, because every manager, every organization loves a problem solver and those who deliver results. And when you do this, you are better positioned to rise. And sometimes people say to me, oh, in my organization, I do it, and yet they still don't promote me. Look at it this way: you are getting an opportunity to build those skills. And the skills you have, no one can take it from you. And when you are ready to move, you are able to move farther and further the place that seemed like persecution to you, if I may look at, I give you a very widely known example of Joseph in the Bible. Joseph was, for those of us who are maybe not very familiar, Joseph was a character in the Bible who endured many hardships. He was betrayed by his siblings. He was sold as a slave. Then his master's wife thought he was a fine boy and wanted to sleep with him. He refused, so he ended up in prison. But everywhere he went, he was building his skills such that at the end of his story, he was recognized by the leader of the land. He solved the problem for Pharaoh, the leader of the land. And so he got a very high position. Now, if he had gotten this position and he didn't have the skills, he would have failed. But he had built his skills all through his career. Yes, Joseph Moyosola. He had built you can look at his journey from when he was back home with his family up until he got to the palace as a journey of building skills. So when the time came for him to deliver results, and I mean, someone could have said that wasn't his career was very tough. Yes, it was. But he was building resilience and he was building skills and he was practicing at smaller levels. Remember, first he practiced at Potiphar's house, then he practiced in the jail. So when it was time for him to rule over Egypt, he already knew the how, he knew what. And so it was easy for him to deliver results. And when you deliver results, you are kept. You're very, which it's a you need to grow your capacity, the ability to do things faster, the ability to free up your space, the ability to be efficient, so you can take on more and more responsibilities and develop yourself such that you have space to do more and take on more in your organization. Okay, you need to grow and develop yourself. What are the so if my strength is problem solving, are you developing your problem solving skills such that you're able to do bigger and bigger and bigger problems? Okay, now we've talked about assignments, but um careers also have waves. They have peaks, and sometimes it seems things are going on, sometimes like what's going on here? Nothing seems to be moving. There are peaks and there are troughs. And I'll send a link to an article to you about water walkers, who a water walker is and how you can be a walker. I'll send it to Ariola and she can share it with the team or with the group. Surfers are those who are able to ride waves, both the highs and the lows. And your career, you need to be ready for the highs and the lows and be able to ride it. Sometimes you fall and you swim a bit instead of surfing, but then you get back on your surfing board and keep surfing. Now, much ado about Gen Z. So, tell me, type in the chat box, what is a reputation, or one, are you Gen Z? And two, what's the reputation you've had about Gen Z? And I'll tell you what I've heard and experienced being not in Gen Z and being in the workplace. I've said much ado about Gen Z because there's a lot of buzz around Gen Z in the workspace right now. So tell me, one, are you Gen Z? Two, what have you heard and what are your experiences? If you've worked with Gen Zs, you're not a Gen Z, you're currently Gen, what's your experience around Gen Zs? Nobody knows anything about Gen Zs. I'm not hearing. Please, oh, don't judge roast the Gen Zs. Okay, some Gen Zs are too lazy. A group of individuals who don't seem scared and are good at confronting conventions. Yeah, they don't want to. I'm not a Gen Z. They're mostly discourteous, nonchalant attitude. Not Gen Z. Gen Zs are carefree, audacious. They're millennial. Yeah, millennial topper. You say the Gen Zs are fast and furious. So, question. Some of them want money, but they don't. So it seems I keep hearing them. So it seems that a lot of us are not Gen Zs. Am I correct? So if you're, I narrowly escaped Gen Z, but what I've heard, they're super blunt and outspoken. I'm not, they don't want to go now. They're just lazy and idiot. Millennial, Gen Z and mental health, 5 and 6. Okay. Gen Z and mental health, they're like 5 and 6. Okay. So a lot of us are millennials, not Gen Z. They don't like stress. Okay. Okay. They can shop, walk, crop top, crops and live are very interesting. See, for some of us, they are siblings. I don't think we have enough on the people on this group that they're mothers yet, or they're your children. They're just mainly our siblings or our nieces and nephews. Okay, so how do we manage them? For those of us who work with them, how do we manage them? They can show up to work with crop top, crops and lipstick gloves. Yes, very interesting children. Yeah. Okay. So for us, we we are not in this group. So let's moving on. Let's talk about women at work. They are super creative. I must say, yes, Moyosola. And the challenge we have, and we have to crack whether we like it or not, is how we are going to manage their strengths and sort of smoothing out their opportunity areas. Because you know what? The next generation coming after them, the Alpha Gen, are going to be probably more interesting. And we're going to laugh eating popcorn, eating our popcorn and ice cream while we watch the Gen Zs complain about the Alpha Gens as well. So that's going to be a very interesting conversation. Okay, yeah, super creative. I agree. So let's bring it home. So then I was talking generally, but let's bring it home a bit to women at work. And I'll talk about women at work from a few some lenses. And I'm a bit of a realist, so I'll be realistic in some of the things I say. We need to, or the way I deal and talk about men and women, we need to look at our lives holistically and look at a career as part of our lives and not all of our lives. I think it helps us manage our expectations about what a career and what our life is going to be. We also need to understand that it's like being on a bus, and there'll be sometimes it's like taking a journey. Sometimes you'll get off the train and get back on again. Sometimes you're off ramp to do things like have children, take career breaks to have children, get married. Sometimes you're on dual career, and we need to sometimes we travel with there's a lead career and a lagging career. And because our spouse, we've decided our spouse is a lead career, we need to make some decisions or take some steps back because of our husbands or our spouses and our children, those kind of things. We need to understand that in that sense, we are not going to have the same career path as either a man who doesn't have to take this round or if another woman who has made a decision or for whatever isn't taking a ramp off to have kids or have children or support a husband or take those two people are going to have different career tracks. I was speaking with a friend of mine who is now, she was 50 this year, and her first kid has just gone off to uni. Her other two are getting close to the end of their secondary school, so going off to uni. She'll soon be an empty nester, and now she's taking an assignment in Singapore, which means she has to travel a lot. But now she's in a place where she can more easily travel because there are no kids at home that she has to keep going back for, or that so now she's free to travel, roam the world. There is no one holding her husband, self-sufficient. The kids are. She couldn't do this 10 years ago. And so if 10 years ago that sort of assignment came, she would have had to say, I'm sorry, maybe not now. I need to do this later. But a male colleague of hers maybe could have done that assignment 10 years ago. So for her, or if you have someone there now, if she then looks at her male colleague and says, his career is this way and his career is that way, she isn't taking into consideration that one of her five finger, I have another boss or mentor who used to talk about five-finger rule. One of her, and the five-finger rules means you have in life, you have many roles. So you're a mother, you're a spouse, you're a sister, you're a cousin, you're a worker in church or a worker in your religious place, you have a hobby, you're a friend, you're a community moderator, a community group leader. You have different roles. And he said to attain work-life balance and not burn yourself out, you need to think of what 5 roles are you prioritizing in your life at any point in time, and then focus on those. So if you look at someone whose 5 roles are not particularly demanding, so maybe a man or another woman who doesn't have the things you're doing and you do, you must also realize that maybe from your role of being a mother, you're getting a lot of satisfaction from it. So add that, and if you're getting less maybe from your um, career, you need to add it up and look at your life in sum total and put those all together. Another piece of advice I ever got from another senior colleague of mine was to say, you know what, as a woman, and then was as a mother, you need to, her advice, which I took and it worked for me, is to outsource everything you can in your life and focus on the things you can't outsource. So for me then, um, if you can outsource cooking, outsource it. If you can outsource laundry, outsource it. If you can outsource as a mother, if you can outsource driving, outsource it. If you can outsource clean, whatever you can outsource, outsource. There are some things that you can't outsource. Don't outsource those. So quality time to your children, if you're a mother. Nurturing them, you can't outsource. Intimate relationships with your husband, you can't outsource that. Those things, keep them. But recognizing and realizing that these other things you don't outsource, the cooking, the clean, if you decide to do them all, you will burn out and you won't have the time and energy for the more important things in your life because those things don't have the same gravity. If I can pay, so look at you now, if you're a woman at home, you do shopping, cooking, cleaning, the amount you get paid for, so let's say you can pay 2,000 naira or 5,000 naira an hour for someone to wash your clothes. Your hour, when you put it into work or into another sphere, maybe you can earn 20,000 or 25,000. So why don't I pay this person 5,000 to do that lower value work? And I do the higher value work and I earn the 25,000. Net, I have made 20,000. So I think sometimes as women, we don't put a value to all the things we do and then look at what are the lower value work, outsource those ones, and the higher value work, keep those to yourself and do those by you get more return on your time, you get more return on your brain, your energy than when you're doing those lower value work. Are you still with me?
Yes, ma, we're with you.
Okay. Also understand that you have times and seasons in your life, which is what I was talking about. My colleague who now is 50 has an empty nest can rule. There are times and seasons in your life. The time, and this lady in January said it so succinctly. Said it's like your career clock and your biological clock are moving at the same time. So you've got to make choices. Choices have to be made at each level, realizing the truth that your biological clock and your career clock sometimes seem to be moving at the same. So you need to make choice and understand that times and seasons. There are times when you have to make a decision to off ramp, and then maybe career will be on a scale of 1 to 10, on a 3 or 4, because we need to focus on it. And then there are times when you can dedicate more time to career because the other things you are doing in your life are at a lower level or demand less from you. So if you look at demands on your time and energy, and you look at the energy and time you have to give, you need to make choices. I think we need to understand need to make choices, and those choices have real impact. And I typically try and stay away from this discussion or this, can women have it all? I think we are framing the discussion in an if but, like it's a struggle, or so I don't like that have it all discussion. I like having a discussion about my life, the chances and choices I'm making realistic choices and deciding for myself what is the choice for me now, and what is the value I'm getting, and what is the joy or fulfillment I'm getting from my life and those choices I've made at that time, and be okay with it. And then when I want to be full round for my career, go with it. So Ariola mentioned having 3 children under 5. You're going to be in a different place than a male counterpart who has no children to worry about, or a female counterpart who has no children. But understand you have made a life choice to have children, and this person has made a life choice not to have children. So wanting to compare yourself in your career and moaning that it's not fair or it's fair, again, is unfair and unrealistic. You need to recognize that choices and decisions have consequences, and you take those consequences. I'm going to pause here for Q&A um, and discussions, because this is really where I think the discussions are going to happen. That's the core of what I wanted to talk about. And then I wanted to, really, really spend more time taking questions, answering questions you might have, take your thoughts on what we've said. And yeah, so I'm going to pause here to take questions, thoughts, challenges, agreements, insights, whatever it is you may have. No questions? You can unmute as well and also ask me the question directly if you don't want to type. That's also perfectly fine.
Okay, ma. All right, ma. I have a question to ask.
Go
I
for it.
remember some years ago, I was on a job and it was a managerial role. I had supervisory role, and I had serious challenges taking on
Mhm.
that role. I was unqualified for that role to start with. At the point I got the job, and I had such incredible large shoes to fill. I was a fantastic creative. I was a fantastic employee. But when it came to actually getting people, my subordinates, right, to do their job was a problem. So many times I found myself doing the job they're meant to do for them. And another issue I had was actually escalating. I felt, why will I be reporting these people already? So the issue I had was actually a kind of moral conflict. These people were overworked, they were overworked, they were juggling multiple roles, they were customer service people, and they were also into social media management. So because I actually straddled both departments, I had people under customer service and digital my social media content creation and reporting to me. So I was also made to make them create blogs also. Like I was adding to their jobs. They come up with proposals, they come for meetings. And when you handle social media, digital marketing, you know how intense that space is. You have to be there real time, answering inquiries, making sure nothing is left, nothing slips through the cracks. And these guys were stretched thin and the money wasn't so good for them. So each time they come to me reporting, and we are not happy with what we're doing, I said, I'm so sorry you feel this way, but you agreed to do this job at this fee. I understand it is stretching you, I understand it's a lot, but you gave your word. And even though you might not get what you want monetarily, but rest assured, when you're living here, you're living better. And honestly, I left the job eventually, but I didn't leave the same person that entered. I was a lot better, even though I had a very stressful boss, a line manager that frustrated my soul. So one of the issues I had was actually maintaining that healthy balance between what is right and what is not right. So when it came to appraising these people, I struggled with quantitative analysis, for instance, of the assessment, for instance. This group, for instance, had a very big brand, and because of the equity the brand has built, they have more followers, they are doing a lot better. But this other group, for instance, had a smaller brand. They put in more work, they put in more energy, more love into this brand. And you hear them saying things like, this brand is my baby. but they didn't have much when it came to they were not getting much results because they had a smaller brand they were working on. And then the conflict was, am I meant to underscore these people because quantitatively they were not giving the results, but these people on the other hand were getting the results, and I didn't see that love, right? But because it's a big brand, they were actually doing better. But these other
Okay.
people had they loved the brand so much. The brand was stressful. The customers were
Okay.
nasty. The clients were nasty. But I saw that love. I just couldn't explain, and that was the moral
Okay.
conflict I
Okay.
had with my line boss. She felt I
Okay.
should appraise them, and I felt this is not right. So when you find
Okay.
yourself in that kind of situation, how do you navigate that situation? Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Ariola, um, the question you're asking me seems to be around people management. Now, people management itself is a skill, as I'm sure you found out. Doing it, people management is a skill. And sometimes we are not prepared for it and we get the rules. So one of the first things I would advise anyone who finds themselves, remember we talked about skills, you've got to find out and learn about people management. Being a supervisor, it just isn't being called a manager. So remember skills. So first of all, this is to everyone in your group. If you get a people management role, you get a supervisory role, you need to first go and find out what it means to be a supervisor and get the beautiful things now is that learning has been democratized. There's so much information out there you can go and find. So go find out, go and actively learn within your first 3 months of being a people manager. Go and learn, find out how to be a people manager and learn. Now, what you have described to me is part of a subset of human resources we call performance management. It seemed you were struggling with how to appraise. And the first step before you can appraise is what goals did you set? You have to set goals in itself that you appraise. You don't at the end of the day start appraising without having setting goals. And if I go another step down forward, it means you need to set both quantitative input, we call them input and output measures. So the output measures will be the number of followers, blah, blah, blah. But you also need to set goals that takes into account the work that needs to happen to get those results. So for the bigger brand, they would have the output goals would be high, would be, if you were to appraise them, they'll be high on output but low on input because they don't put in a lot of work. The results come because the brand speaks for itself. For the other group, their output goals may seem low, but their input would be high because they put in a lot of love, as you've said. And then even when we're setting the goals, in that case, maybe you're not setting the number of followers, you're setting the increase by what has it increased. So someone who has increased from 10 to 20 has doubled. Someone who has increased from 100 to 110 has only grown by 10%. Do you understand? So you set goals based on, it's part of people management, performance management. You look at the work, which is where the management and not just you need to understand the work. What are the targets for the organization or the group? And then how may I set goals to, because the intent of setting goals is to be able to reward or otherwise people who don't do the right thing. And also for the organization to hit its results at the end of the day, because the brand only cares about, the income or the inflows that goes into your pocket. I hope that helped. Did I answer your question?
Yes, ma, you did.
Okay, so
Thank you so
performance
much.
and people management is a whole different ballgame, and that's another training on its own. But that could have helped. So then you've taken away from being a moral thing to measurable. Goals should always be measurable. You should never feel torn. And at the beginning of the cycle, the year or quarter, when you set the goals, the employees also, goals are not set in isolation. You set it with the people and they understand. And you as a manager, you're there to break barriers, provide resources that will enable them hit these goals. Okay,
Thank you,
yeah,
ma.
but you're welcome. Moyo Sola says, how do you overcome gender biases and stereotypes that threaten your confidence as a professional? Good question, Moyosola. Gender biases and stereotypes. So I'll break that into two, the biases and stereotypes, and then your confidence as a professional. And I'll speak from my point of view. I'm sure as you speak, different people will give you different answers because it's not a textbook, and we're collecting different information to grow. So your confidence, you've got to protect your confidence and do things that boost your confidence. One of the things is this support group you're in that helps you grow your confidence. Your results help you grow your confidence as well. If I link back to the discussion I just had with Ariola, what are your goals and how are you achieving your goals? You know, when you achieve results, it boosts your confidence. So always agree with your manager upfront at the beginning of the year what are the goals. Let's agree the goals, and your job is to focus on delivering those goals and smashing those goals. And when you do that, it boosts your confidence. On the gender biases and stereotypes, it's always going to be one of those things we are chipping in day in, day out, depending on, and it's easier or harder in some industries versus the other. I think you need to own your work, aware of the stereotypes and biases, and then work on separating. So, for example, we talked about the Gen Zs are the stereotype, and the norm out there is that Gen Zs are lazy, right? If you're not a Gen Z and you do your work, people come in expecting you to be lazy, but then you're not lazy. You see, you give yourself a window and people begin to say, oh, Gen Zs are lazy. But this one is not lazy. Women are always concerned about their looks and whatever, but not this one. So I think we can't take it on for the entire women folk, but for ourselves, we'll work on what you own is working on your own area and making sure that you deliver and busting those stereotypes for you. Okay, so Moyosola, type and let me know if I answered your question. Belinda says, how do I prioritize self-care? I'm a mother of two. My husband pastors, says parish is a church, transitioning into One of the things I say, Belinda, to you is get help. Look for, we talked about low value work. What are the low value work you can outsource to people to help you with so you can free up time for yourself? The other thing I'll say is prioritize self-care by deciding it is a priority. One thing I found about us mothers is, so if something comes today and your child needs 10 naira, if you have 10 naira, you gladly spend, if you have 1K and your child, they send something from school, your child needs something 800, 900, we won't even think about it, you've dropped it. But if you decided that you are important, then you prioritize yourself. So for example, I do things like blocking out time in my diary for myself. You prioritize things like having a budget for yourself. You prioritize, people will know, like when mommy is sleeping, for a simple thing as sleeping, people should know when mommy is sleeping, no one should go and wake up. So if it's your 30 minutes, you take a nap on weekends, Saturdays, you sleep for 1 hour. People should know, when mommy is sleeping, don't go and wake up. But mommy will be very upset when, so you, Belinda, you are the one who prioritize self-care by deciding that is important. When we think something is important, we make time for it and we do it. So decide is important and then put your energy behind doing it. Fejiro says, if you have to work with people that are not very educated or exposed as a business owner, so are you the business owner or you are the person educating your business owner? If you are working with people who are, Fejiro, what are you going to answer? So if assume you are the business owner and you are working with people who are not exposed, you've got to break it to them in their simple terms and reward. People do what you reward them for. So if, for example, you say I'm making this up, for every time a customer, you answer a customer, sorry. Okay, so
Adekemi, can you mute your mic if you're not speaking?
Can you please mute yourself?
Can you mute your mic?
Okay, so if you need to reward behaviors you want to see, that's what I'll say. Reward the behaviors you want to see in the way. Could you meet everyone? If you decide with
Sorry, ma, please unmute yourself. I had to mute everyone. Thank you.
No? Okay. All right. So back to the questions. So I assume you are the business owner, people who are not very educated, you teach them and you continually teach them. You role model by being on the floor yourself. I find a lot of business owners are not on the floor, and then you reward the behaviors you want to see. It doesn't, even if it's very little. How do you set boundaries between church, work, and family life? Belinda, I would say you pick up your, I don't know, calendar, your diary, and apportion the time and be like a bulldog with those boundaries. This is church time, this is work time, and this is family life. And protect it like a lion protecting her cub. You will offend some people in the beginning, fine. With time, everybody will understand these are the boundaries and stay there. Boundaries that you are not ready to defend, you are not ready for those things to be boundaries. For those of us that took a career break, probably to have kids, how do we navigate back into the workforce easily, considering even while you're away having kids, you have to stay in touch. You have to sharpen your skills. You need to be in touch. Those who are in there, you need to keep on them. And some of the things you need to have done them before you went on break. You need to have been established a reputation for yourself as someone who delivers results, so that when you are ready to come back, people want you back. You also need to be realistic. You may need to take a step back, because people, you can't say we're both, me and a guy, we've both been here for 5 years and you want to be at the same level. You took 2 years off to have kids, he didn't. So beware of those things. Continually sharpen your skills, even when you're with the kids at home. Take online courses, take online skills, take piecemeal work, just to keep in touch with people who are at work, so that you can come back when you are ready. Be open to things like flexible work, project type work, freelance work, until you get back into. How do you overcome team members that threaten your confidence and overshadow your presence in meetings? I just got for 5 minutes. Things kind of look hard. Lastly, how do you successfully handle your career and business? So the second question, you want to handle career, business, and family, understand that you've got to put in a whole lot more to get this result. First of all, appraise. Do you have the capacity for these three things you want to do? Is it realistic to want to do these three things at the same time? If you have career, business, and young children, and all of them, if you have a young business, if it's a stable business, it can run itself and doesn't need a lot of you. It just needs a little of you. But if you have a young business, young career, and young children, I may want to ask you, are you sure about this? Team members are threatening your confidence. One, results. Your presence in meeting, focus on results. Plan, you yourself have role played and planned for the meeting, so that in the meeting, when it's time to open your mouth, the one thing you say, they may fight with you for air. Those some people can talk before you open your mouth, they've said 10 things. But that one thing you will say in that meeting, let it be the thing you say that people like, So before you go for a meeting, prepare for the meeting beforehand. What are the topics? Where's your area? Where my questions they might ask you? Be ready to add value. So when you go to that value, that one time you open your mouth is going to be such that, and you go for airspace. Sometimes you're not waiting. I think the thing about us women is that, so we want to take turns. Understudy those who talk at meetings and get their voices heard. What do they do? Are they waiting for airspace before they talk, or they jump in and talk anyway? Also being understanding that when we do some things, we are going to be considered certain ways. So a guy who interrupts people is seen as assertive. A woman who interrupts people is seen as rude. So you need to be aware that you will not be seen as a nice girl if you do some things, and it needs to be okay for you. Oh, Fejiro, you're the business owner. I hope that answered your question, as in rewarding the behaviors you want to see. Yes, talk about upskill. You've got to really upskill. Mrs. Bamu Michelle. So Michelle, managing distraction in this AI area. My dear, you are the person who is going to manage your distractions. No one is going to. And there's a lot online about managing distraction. These diversifying sources of income, like I've said, if you have a young career, young business, and young children, it's not going to work. Let's face fact. There's only one of you, and there's only so much you can do. So distractions in these AI areas. If you need to go and buy a Palasa phone, go and buy a Palasa phone. This is me being extremist here. So you're not distracted by AI. You have got to be ruthless in focus. Some apps, you need to uninstall them from your phone. If you need to uninstall Instagram, uninstall it from your phone and only use it from your laptop. What are the things that distract you? And you have got to decide you need to manage those distractions. Okay? Financial strength, there's a whole training on personal finance management, um, which I'm not going to be able to go into there. Yeah, digital detox. Yep, helps a lot. I think we need to take accountability for ourselves. Yes, Michelle, it's about ruthless focus. We need to be accountable for ourselves. No one is going to do it for us. We need to look in the mirror, look at ourselves, and decide what it is we want. You've called it a distraction. If you have identified it as a distraction, then you've got to be ruthless and say, picture your goal. Sometimes I give you a small funny example. With my children, sometimes, sometimes when you're on your phone, you're talking on your phone and your children are talking and you feel like they're disturbing you. I tell myself, better put this phone down and focus. Because if they are used, you've set a precedence that a phone takes precedence over them. Don't forget, the tables are going to turn where they are the ones, you are going to be the ones who is less active and you are going to need more of their attention. But if you've gotten them used to the person who has power does not give attention to the person, they're not going to give you attention when they grow old and you need their attention. But if you've set a precedence that we will deprioritize the phone for the human being, then when they are older, you've already set it in the back of their brain somehow that they're used to people over phones. I hope that helped. Any other questions? Arala, I think, how are we doing for time? Is it time to jump off? I'm looking at the clock and it looks
Yes,
like we're
ma. You've done so much, ma. We've learned a lot. In fact, the last one you said now, people over phone, really hits me so hard. It's something I'm constantly working on.
go and
Bearing in
buy a
mind,
Palasa
one has
phone.
a lot of work to do. Well,
You may need to go and buy.
if your business is on the
Oh, sorry, I
digital
thought my
space,
video. Yeah.
if your business, your work, your career is on the digital space, sometimes you can't do without actually being online. And
Okay,
the
so
nature of my work, I work from home, and I try my best possible actually to be there for my children. And they're so young, they're so little, they're so loving. They always call me, mommy, I love you, mommy, how are you? They want a hug, they want a, and I have deadlines. They're like, guys, can we do this
So
later? So
have a
many
home
times I try
office.
to.
Can you have a home
Yes,
office and lock yourself in the office? Lock it, like be invisible, like when almost like you're in a
okay,
different.
so
And then
another
when it's
issue
time
I
for
have,
them as well, when it's
I
time for
get,
them, focus on them. It's not easy. I'm not
yeah.
pretending it's easy, and I'm not pretending that there's a magic bullet that there will be days you would and there'll be days you won't do so well, but it's a constant thing, and be aware. So there's no quick and easy fix, but if you are determined, focused, and it's a priority for you, you keep going through. So well done.
Thank you so much, ma. Thank you so much, ma. You've done
Mm.
so much for us. We've learned so much. You've given away so many gems for free, and we just can't wait to get started. It's been so wonderful listening to you, ma. Actually, the second speaker has been here since the beginning of the session, and he's also has awesome things to say about your session.
Oh,
He's so pumped about it too. So thank you so much. Would have loved
thank
to have you till the rest of the day, but he's also waiting in line to speak. Thank you
okay,
so much,
yeah.
ma. We are
All
so
right then.
grateful to have you.
Lovely
We're so
to
grateful for you, ma. Thank you, ma, for sharing yourself with us.
my
We really
pleasure. All the
appreciate it.
best.
Thank you so much, ma.
All
Bye,
right,
ma.
yeah. Bye.
All right, Tokpe, are you there, Tokpe? Tokpe, Temi Tokpe, are you there? Talk by the anchor, enhancing workforce productivity. So sorry. Tomilola Adesanya is a distinguished creative and brand consultant with a strong commitment to enhancing workforce productivity through tailored training programs, workshops, publications, and speeches. His extensive career spans various creative domains, including roles as a graphic designer, creative director, and brand consultant. He has worked on prominent organizations and brands such as International Breweries PLC, APM Terminals, Jobberman, West African Container Terminal, Schneider Electric, Ogun State, Crate and Barrel, CAC Motors, Hit FM, La Casera, Dubene Pizza, and the printer so small, and beach summer games, amongst others. With a deep passion for personal development and marriage enrichment, Tomilola excels in helping individuals achieve improved outcomes and greater effectiveness in their professional and personal lives. In addition to his professional pursuits, he enjoys teaching, painting, and a mixed martial art fan. Tomilola Adesanya is married with children, and he is a co-host of the Happily Ever After Marriage podcast with his beautiful wife, Nneka Tomilola Adesanya. So the next voice we'll be hearing now is that of Tomilola Adesanya. He's been he's an awesome person. He's been there, done that. We're talking about branding in Nigeria. He's one of the authorities in that field, and we're super honored, super blessed to have him in our midst. So you have the floor, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes, we
Okay.
can.
Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm very excited to be here. I consider this a very huge opportunity. See the way I'm even blushing, so you will know that I consider this a huge opportunity. And I am blessed amongst women. I'm blessed amongst women. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. And thank you to our last speaker. It was an amazing session, very soft spoken. In fact, if you were to put the voice of the Holy Spirit into a physical person, that should be the voice. Very, very calm, soft spoken and very articulate. Thank you so much, Ma, for the wealth of knowledge. We are very grateful. Okay, so I have a very interesting topic, something that really interests me, which is brand. I mean, there's a lot of confusion with the word brand, and it's very overused. It's very overused. You know how when we were studying economics in secondary school, how you had so many definitions for economics, right? But there are some fundamental concepts towards economics. So as branding. So first, I must say thank you, and I think everybody should give themselves a round of applause. This community has been an amazing one. One thing I always tell people is don't fight with women. You cannot fight with a woman and win. So sometimes I wonder when people say, oh, this work thing, gender this, gender that, women are very powerful, I must say. And this is not to patronize anyone in any way. Women are super powerful. And there's a popular saying online, it is true. It is very, very true. You cannot fight with a woman. If a woman says, this guy will not pass this place, best believe he's not going to pass it. So as a woman, working with women and men, you have to be very, very careful, how you align, how you interact, how you, maintain a very, very good disposition towards everybody. The Bible says we should maintain peace with all men, right? And we should appear righteous also unto all men. You understand? So it is very, very important. Now, can I share my screen? Can I share my screen so I just go into it?
Yes,
Yes,
please,
you
you can.
can.
Okay. Also, how long do I have?
Okay, you
How
have
long
one
do I?
hour plus the
Okay.
question and answers. So if you can
Okay. All
keep
right.
your presentation to like 15 minutes, yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
that's great. Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so understanding your personal brand. Power moves for women in business and leadership, right? What is a brand? So as much as possible, I want this to be very interactive. So for the purpose of this class, there are no right or wrong answers. You can decide to overshoot or undershoot. It's up to you. So what is a brand? Anyone can help me here. What is a brand? You can drop your definitions. Okay, identity. Okay. Identity. Who else? If you want to speak, you can unmute. What is a brand? What you are known for. Okay. Your niche. Okay. You have super people here. A business doing a specific thing. Okay. Your reputation, promise, personality. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. I think I'm even satisfied with all of these, definitions I'm hearing already. So some people said personality, reputation, business, what you're doing, a specific thing, your niche, and all of that, right? A brand is a bundle of benefits, right, among the sum of its association. A bundle of benefits. Now, also, some people say a brand is a promise, right? Some people say a brand is your perception, so there are quite a number of definitions to what a brand is and what it's not. So, but there are some things that are very important. There is a brand must give benefits. So imagine someone going into business or trying to become a brand, so to speak, in quote, and does not have any value to put on the table. Then that is not a brand. You can also make an argument that a brand is a promise. Now, if you are giving value, then there is a promise behind that value you're giving. That every time people come in contact with you, that this is what they should expect to receive from you. So a brand, arguably value, a brand, arguably a promise, right? But ultimately, a brand is, a perception. Do you understand? Because the Bible even said, appear righteous unto all men. So a brand is people's perception of you. Now, my wife went to the market, I think when the children were about to resume this particular session, and she went to the market to go and get some school supply. When she got there, she had parked somewhere, then someone parked behind her. So she was done in the market and she wanted to leave. And she asked the shop by her side that, oh, who owns this car? Can you please help me reach this person that parked this car behind me so I can, go? And they said, we renew. She went to meet the, the guys that control the traffic in the place. They said the same thing about her. We renew. Like nobody wanted to have any confrontation or any conversation with her, so that is a bad brand, right? And for those that are not Yoruba, they're just saying that she's a mad person, so that connotes that she's very feisty, or it could mean anything, right? So everybody just wanted to avoid her like a bad habit, right? So that is a very, very poor brand. So what impression do you have in the heart of people? What impression do you have in the heart of people? That is what brand is. Whenever you hear Coca-Cola, there's something that comes to your mind. When you hear Apple, there's something that comes to your mind. When you hear Samsung, there's something that comes to your mind. Even if there is constant war between Apple and Samsung, uh, there is a constant war. But we can't tell you which one is better. But I tell you, I'm an Apple fan. For those that are Samsung, please forgive me for the purpose of this session. So so that is what a brand is in a nutshell. There has to be value, there has to be a promise, and there has to be a lasting impression in the hearts of people. So that when they see you, there is something, that comes to their mind. Remember the person, the last speaker was talking about, that whenever they had any issue, they would go to this particular person because that was a brand. That was a value-giving brand, a solution-driven brand. So that is what a brand means. Now, what is a personal brand? What is a personal brand? Now, a personal brand, so this is my personal definition, right? So if you've not heard it before, it's okay. So a personal brand is the public perception of an individual influenced through a conscious effort by the subject to elevate credibility and uniqueness by consistently giving value through a period of time. So there are some things I want us to point out here, right? There is public perception, there is influence, there is conscious effort, there is credibility, there is uniqueness, and there is period of time. So all of these factors are very, very important, to what a personal brand is, right? It is very, very important. So you have to show up when you're trying to build a personal brand, for yourself. You have to give yourself time, right? You have to create that uniqueness. So what makes you stand out from everybody? Okay, let's say you went to law school, 500,000 people graduated from law school. So what makes you different? What makes you different? So you are either a commodity or you're a brand. So if you are just amongst every other person out there, then you are just a commodity. But if you can stand out, and sort of, when people think about a particular thing, they think about you, then that is you building a very solid brand for yourself. Now, why does it matter? It matters a lot. Now, there was, while listening to the last speaker, she said something about the career ladder, right? Being a being a marathon and not a sprint, which is very true, right? But you also have to look at the people that run marathon. They have resilience. They are stronger, even if they look frail than those guys that do sprint. They are strong. They have more enduring power. They can push themselves more. I'll rather travel with those people than the sprint guys, because these guys can endure. They are disciplined. They can stay through the course. And that is why a brand is very, very important. Why do you need to build, a personal brand? Now, one thing I will say is this. If you want your career clock to sort of be shortened, right? Build a personal brand, right? Something you're supposed to take maybe 10, 15 years to climb, right? With a very solid personal brand, you will crunch the time. And this theory, piggybacks also to what she said about her friend, which is now heading somewhere abroad or something. If you are able to build your personal brand, it is going to crunch the time for you. And we can see this with a lot of comedians online. We can see this, with a lot of people, doing great things, especially with the advent of social media, right? We can see this a lot. So building a personal brand is a necessity now, considering that the world is so big. We have billions of people in the world. You need to stand out, and you need to start telling your own story so that people can recognize you. If I say D'banj, for instance, you already know what D'banj is. If I say Tony Elumelu, for instance, you know who Tony Elumelu is, right? So can someone tell me, okay, maybe we'll get to that. If I say Aliko Dangote, for instance, you know who that is. If I say Brother Shaggy, if I say Lasisi, you guys, when I say that, when I mention that name, there's an image that is cast in your mind. There are sets of values, attributes that comes, to your mind when I mention those names. Now, think of a person whose brand inspires you, and what are their defining characteristics? So, the first person to drop in the chat, the person will mute and we'll have a conversation about it very quickly. 1 minute. Think of a person whose brand inspires you. You can just drop it in the chat. Think of a person whose brand inspires you. Brain Jotter, okay. Okay, other people, please drop. But MB, do you mind? Tomike Adeoye, fantastic. Funke Akindele, fantastic. Two more people. Sam Adeyemi, fantastic. Okonjo Iweala, fantastic. No man in this. Okay, Brain Jotter is a man. I wanted to say, why are you all feminists? Pastor Kojo Imade, fantastic. Okay. So can anyone tell me why? Okay, I think I should start with MB. MB, can you please unmute and tell us why Brain Jotter is a person that inspires you, and what sort of characteristics, inspires you about him?
Okay, the reason why Brain Jota came to good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Coach, for sharing with us. Okay, the reason why I said Brain Jota is because I kind of followed him from afar, for some time. And after everything blew up for him, I started watching how he was reaching out to people on a personal notes. He will reach out to his fans and then help some that needed assistance on a low key. Like, he's not doing it as if he's doing that to show, he's going to hospitals and everything. That's something that really inspired me a lot. Not so much about the funny aspect of his comedy and everything, but his humanitarian heart. And he's so very humble. Yeah. And he's so very humble. Yeah, that's something that I admire about.
Thank you very much.
That inspired me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So he's compassionate. He has built a compassionate brand, right? And he's very humble. So compassion and humility are the characteristics that are defining. Anyone else? Who else wants to jump on this? I'll do 2 more people. Then we'll continue with the presentation. Who else? Just unmute and go. Go for it.
All right, let me speak. So the brand of Oprah Winfrey really inspires me. And this year I've been really listening to a lot of her content, and what really inspires me the most about her is how relatable she is, how vulnerable she is, and that's actually one of the things that actually make an authentic brand, personal or corporate or business brand. Being authentic, not losing your humanity. So we have a lot of women in leadership, for instance, and that's also one of the things I love about Emotions Doctor. No matter how high they aspire to, no matter how high they go in life, they're still very relatable, still very down to earth. They don't carry air as it were. So Oprah, for instance, doesn't have issues sharing her stories, being vulnerable. She hasn't lost common touch. So it's just that authenticity of her brand that really, really inspires me, and the fact that she's doing great stuff all over the world. She's a character I really, really aspire to and I love. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I really like that. There's one scripture in the Bible, I've forgotten the verse, but it says, the Son of Man has not come to be served, but to serve himself to the world. Now, there is some part of, building a brand that has to be vulnerable. Even Jesus, the perfect brand ever, right? You see, wherever he went out, he was always sharing, story, right? He would look at the situation on ground and he would share a story that connects him and the Father or the kingdom to the current or the present situation on ground, for the purpose of learning. But everything was centered around love and empathy and compassion, right? And that was why he came down and died. So I like that, there was a personal touch. She didn't lose her humanity, or she hasn't lost her humanity. There's vulnerability. There's some people you see, they just look as if, this one is just like a robot. It's just trying to look larger than life always. But there is a part of vulnerability. Someone said Pastor Kodri, the seasoned teacher, whenever he opens his mouth, there is something to learn. I like the subtle hints of his love for arts. He doesn't jump on conventions. He has great taste in music. You can tell he's very vast in all areas, and he is able to handle everything well. Fantastic. So he's a well-rounded and versatile person, very knowledgeable. So you love his ability to be very knowledgeable in things. One more person before I go ahead. You can unmute your mic. Anyone?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My horn is Roseanne Turner, and why she inspires me so much is because I'm in that field. Actually, she's a critical care nurse and also a nurse educator. And from all I've seen about her, I've seen her as a trainer, a developer. She has good monitoring ability and evaluation. And the fact that even under pressure and stress, she laughs and she go about taking care of patients with smiles on her face and with joy.
Fantastic.
So that's
Fantastic.
why she has been my inspiration, and I've
Thank you.
really grown and learned from her.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. You know, her joyful personality and her positivity. That's what I'll take from what you've said. You know, and there is no way you can build a perfect brand without infusing the fruits of the spirit, right? But that might not be for this particular session because it is not a religious conversation, but it is very important, you know, to mention this. Like she mentioned that this lady has joy. You know, how can you be a critical care person and you're not a joyful person? You know, energy spreads and bad energy even spreads faster. And, you know, you can go into a room with someone with a bad energy and it might affect you if you're not careful, right? So energy is good. So joy is good, love, kindness. And you will see that most of the people we have mentioned, they carry some attributes, if not all. They carry maybe 3 attributes of the fruit of the spirit. They might not be Christians, right? Don't get me wrong. They might not be Christians, but you have to express, you know, this aspect of divinity, you know, to be able to also build a very good and solid brand. And I hope that all these people you've mentioned, take your time, critically write things that you appreciate about them, but don't lose yourself in, you know, in the process. All right, so moving on, self-discovery and brand identity, right? Now, personal branding starts with knowing who you are. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Right? It is very important. I cannot say I'm a monkey and aspire to be a banker. No, it means there is a misalignment in that conversation, right? So you have to understand, you have to know who you are before you can even venture, you know, to build a personal brand. And to thyself, be true. I always tell my students whenever I'm in front of an audience speaking or anything, I always mention it that to thyself, be true. You can create a facade outside, but to your who are you truly? Do you understand? If they took all the titles from you, if they took your job, you know, if you were stripped of those titles, those high and mighty, high, you know, things that you've defined or labeled yourself over the course of the years, who are you truly? Who do you truly call yourself? Now, what role has your past played in who you have become? Now, remember we said what Ariola said about Oprah Winfrey is vulnerability. Now, we're not saying you should come and spread all your dirty lingerie outside, right? We're not saying you should come and share, you know, all your past secrets or anything with the public. No, but there is that vulnerable aspect of your story, right? Now, what role has your past played in who you have become? Has it made you a better person or has it made you enter into your shell, right? Has it made you enter into your shell? Now, one thing about me, I can be vulnerable about this, right? Growing up, you know, my parents never compared us. That's me and my older brother. But the people around us, the people that we grew up with, because I mean, my grandfather owned a church, there were so many people around. They always compared us, right? You know, then growing up, for some reason, I was the more stubborn, rough one. So I was always having injuries. You know, in fact, my dentition was awful growing up. All right. So they would look at my brother, looks like the perfect one, was always acing his school grades and all of that. Right. So they always compare us. But my parents never did that. Right. They will always compare, oh, Wale is the fine one. So me, you know, and I had Ogo. So he was the model child, right? I was I don't know. He was first to third. His worst result in school was third. And I think he cried when he was coming home. But best believe, my results, I was third from the back. I was third from the back. Best believe. And this is no lie. This is no, I'm a better person. You know, you cannot share what you have not overcome. I have overcome that part of me. So I'm not that person anymore. So that's why it's easy for me to just sort of share that. So I was third from the back. So if there were 27 people in class, best believe I was 25th or 26th, right? So I was always narrowly escaping the last, right? But what it did to me was I realized when I was working in a very big organization, I realized that I was always fighting help. Now, when I am doing a project, I want to do it by myself because I had something to prove to myself, right? That I am strong, I am well-rounded, I am sufficient in myself, right? So I was always very hard on myself until one day I had left the job and I realized that, oh, I think this thing might have affected me in a very funny way, right? And it makes me a bit defensive, right? So I think that is that there are good sides to it. There are also negative sides to it. The good side to it was it made me learn things at a 3 times speed more than every other person. If people were learning at with speed times 1, I am learning with times 3 because I wanted to be the best at what I was doing. It helped me to push myself better, but it is also made me a defensive person at some point in my life, right? I was a bit, no, I always felt people wanted to challenge me. So it made me a bit feisty at that point in my life. But thank God I've overcome that. So do we have anyone that is willing to share very short, story about how, that what role, how their past has affected them, right? Anyone? The first person to unmute is the person that will have the chance.
I would have a go on this.
Okay, fantastic.
It's because, sorry, love, 1 second. So, sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. So, I think this part where you said you were refusing help is one thing I really wanted to also talk about. Well, yes, growing up, yeah. Oh my, apologize. Please give me a second.
No problem. We understand.
Yeah. So, like you said, yes, sometimes this thing that's at the end of the day, really, it's like you are trying to prove a point, and sometimes it's not even like anyone is asking you for it, but it's something that it's a personal struggle that you probably didn't learn how to overcome. So I remember that back in the university, I studied law, and my roommate was the best. I would say, well, let's say she was one of like the best female. I mean, a strong 2-1, and the kind of university I attended didn't have all the facilities that could help. So you, if you're making it, you're really making it because you must have really pushed yourself a lot. So, but there was something. While I had a roommate who was hating it, I wasn't doing that great. But the thing is, it was also because I had other things. I mean, I was very involved in fellowship and all. And I think at that time, I had not learned balancing things. So I didn't learn how to balance my school timing with fellowship activities and all of that, which is another lesson anyway. But what I wanted to bring out was by the time I got into, so of course, I didn't have a 2-1 from university, and I had a roommate who had a 2-1. And at that time, I didn't learn that. It was after I graduated and between the time of waiting to go into law school, I was just doing an appraisal on everything. And that was one thing I picked. So I was like, okay, you are used to, I want to read it by myself, and I'm not very good at making notes, actually. I don't know how to sit and, how to sit and make notes. I'm probably better reading, understanding, attending, and all of that. So, but during those times when I did, the help I would have been able to latch on was somebody who had taken time to make her notes. I could have taken the notes, read, catch up. That would have probably squeezed out the time, because I didn't have all the time, but I would have used, the resources they had. And that was what that collaboration, I probably didn't learn that at that time. But the difference was when I got into the university, to the law school, which should have been a more stressful time. At that time too, I was still a leader one way or the other, which also was taking my time. I didn't want to be, but somehow I got into law school, Lagos campus, and I had to become a deputy group leader. So I still had my time in one way, not, I mean, just for me. So, but what I had learned was now to use help. So, and it's really made a difference. So by the time it was time for bar finals, which was the dreadful bar finals, everybody say bar finals, all the tension everywhere. I'd followed up on all the processes and all. But one thing that was significant was that the week of my bar exam, I was even almost, I was like, God, how do we even, all these things that we've learned? And what I heard in my spirit was like, your friend I had another friend who was very good at making notes. So he had summarized everything. So the only thing I read that week, I was not even picking up anything. The only thing I read that week was, I read the summary and I carried the marking scheme, and that was what I used to write my bar finals. And this time there was a difference. Instead of, I mean, I had a 2-1 in law school where you would have thought, all the, so like you said, sometimes it's this thing we are really fighting, struggling, like, I want to do it by myself. I'm good at this. I want to do it by myself. And we think it's reducing who we are, or accepting that help is taking anything off us. Rather, it should have made us better.
Fantastic. Thank you, Olufumilola, for sharing that. I mean, it's always a huge one when you are willing to share from your personal experience, right? So we have to also note this. You can screenshot this page. What role has your past played in who you have become? Some people have been scarred based on their past, and they are not willing to even trust anyone anymore. So different experiences in the past, but I cannot share too much details on this matter. Now, heal from your past. Heal from your past traumas. Heal from your past traumas. Now, the concluding part of my story was the fact that, when it was time, when I was in secondary school, I stayed with my aunt, and I graduated with amazing results, right? I was, when my mom saw my results, she was literally rolling on the floor. I had distinctions. My GCE, A-State, WAEC, A-State, NECO, A-State, right? And I even represented my secondary school, higher secondary school. I was in SS2 for math competition, that cowbell competition. Now, for someone that was always getting F9, always failing, so it meant, and my issue in primary school was nothing more than, I had eye issues. I didn't know, I didn't understand it, but I was always sitting at the back making trouble. That was just it. So I had no notes to read, nothing to refer to, because I was writing rubbish in school. Nobody was cross-checking my notes. I'll go back home, go and read the rubbish, then put down rubbish. That was it. Not as I was a dull boy, but nobody was just paying that extra attention to me. And I had eye issues. I started wearing glasses when I was in JS1, right? So that was the story, right? So heal from your past. Heal from those bad habits you have picked up. Now, remember, our parents are also broken people, right? Everybody needs fixing, right? So they sort of put some of their baggages on us, both parents. We picked some bad things from the environment, from the schools we went, from our teachers. There was a bad habit, we learned in secondary school, and it was from a teacher. It was from a teacher, and you have to heal from all of those things. Now, what weight do you need to shed? Because now building a personal brand, it's a new journey to forever, right? It's like happily ever after, right? It's like, okay, this is a new journey for yourself. So you need to shed some weight. If you want to fly high, you need to shed some weight. If you even see a rocket will launch, then after a while, it will detach, that other thing at the bottom for it to go higher. You have to shed some weight. What weight do you need to shed? Think about all of these questions, retrospect, ask yourself deep questions. Then embrace who you truly are. Embrace who you truly are. You see someone like Brother Shaggy, all of this. There's this lawyer guy, this very tall guy, Lai Wasabi, I think that is his name. That guy is so creative and very funny, but he hasn't lost the essence of who he is, right? And you see a lot of these comedians, they, do vulgar content and all of that. He has stuck, to a very, very clean, but funny and witty content. He hasn't lost that part of himself. So, which is very, very important. So you have to embrace who you truly are. And the thing is this, a lot of us are funny, but in our bathrooms, in our closets. But these guys, they've taken who they truly are, they've taken it to another level, and they will come out to the public and in quotes, they'll fool themselves. And we all love it, right? But you don't have to fool yourself to build a personal brand. You don't have to fool yourself. You don't have to come and dance. You don't have to show your private parts. You don't have to show your breasts. You don't have to do all of that to build a solid personal brand. Because that is the order of the day, to be honest. And to be honest, the Bible says, what does it profit a man who gains the world but loses his soul? You don't want a case where you are selling your body so that you can get likes and comments and followers. It is not worth it, to be honest. I just thought to drop that out there. Now, one thing I always think about is 10 years, 20 years down the line, when your children have access to the internet, will it be nice to start seeing their moms or their dads fooling themselves on the internet? That is a talk for another day, but it will be very, very shameful. Imagine if, your daughter or son wants to go and marry to another family and they say, oh, who are your parents? And they check the internet and all they see is bad content, or a personal brand. I don't think it is healthy. So we have to embrace who we truly are. Now, develop your onlyness statement. What is an onlyness statement? Now, an onlyness statement just further emphasizes who you truly are and your uniqueness. We all have a unique aspect, a unique part of us. Now, if I put all my values down and someone else puts all their values down, there will be actually one permutation that is different from yours. You might be likable, hospitable, joyful, loving, and this. I might have all of that, but I might be a graphic designer. You might have all of that, but be a good dancer. There is something about you that I don't have. There's something about me that you don't have. So we have to embrace our uniqueness, right? So what is your onlyness statement? You can screenshot this. I would advise that if you should screenshot this or write it down in your notes. Now, this was inspired by Martin Neumeyer, a very, very strong thought leader in the branding space, Martin Neumeyer, right? Now, what is your onlyness statement? I am the only graphic designer that helps SMEs look good for the purpose of increasing sales in Nigeria and in the rest of the world. Why? So that they can have more sales and reach more customers. When? In this age of AI. So do you understand? That is an example. So you can screenshot this, then go and develop your onlyness statement. Now, what this will do for you it is going to put your audience, like the people you are creating things, so it's going to put it in perspective and your value you bring to them. It is going to do that. Now, random thoughts. The world is constantly attacking our identity. We can get this from all that is going on out there, the LGBT saga, the fact that you need to do the things that are uncanny to be able to put your voice out there. No, the fact that people have to lie, the fact that people have to put up appearances so that people can believe them, the fact that people have to go and borrow people's houses, to make an impression. All of that, the world is constantly attacking our identity. If you truly know who you are, you won't even do some certain things. Now, there will be abuse if the purpose of a thing isn't clear. So, for instance, if someone has a laptop and doesn't know what it's used for, maybe he's an illiterate for some reason, and he doesn't know what it's used for, and the person saw on YouTube and saw that, oh, there's a chopping board and they were using it to cut, he can as well use the laptop as a chopping board, right? Because he doesn't know the purpose. So if the purpose of a thing isn't clear, there will be abuse. If as a woman, you don't know the purpose, why you exist, you'll be abused, even at work, even as a person, right? So if you know your purpose, for instance, if you are hired to sort of do a job, and you know exactly why you were hired in a place, it won't really matter if someone doesn't want you to speak at a meeting. It will be that bring your strong reasons, bring your strong reasons. And that is what God said, bring your strong reasons. If you have your strong reasons and you are bringing results, it is your boss that will quiet that person. If you have, since your arrival into a company, generated extra maybe 10K in the last 6 weeks. I mean, 10 million in the last 6 weeks, right? That sounds like it's very small amount. And, you know, you want to have a meeting, or you're having a meeting, and, you know, you want to bring up an idea. And someone says, oh, don't worry about that. We've covered it. And the last amount he generated was 1 million naira in the last 6 years of being there. What do you think your boss is going to do? Oga, wait, let someone that has good ideas and that is giving us results, let the person speak. So it is very important, you know, to know our purpose for existence. And to be honest, we cannot know our purpose outside who God is. We have to link back our purpose to God. It's not a Christian fora, but it is very important. Now, knowing who you are determines what you get. Knowing who you are, if you are always playing yourself small, you are going to achieve small things, you know, and this is not cliche, right? As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So as you see yourself, so you are. If you think, oh, nothing good can come out of this small girl, then nothing good is likely to come out, except God has extra mercy on you, right? So you have to think about yourself, you know, knowing who you are and operating like that. Imagine if a king, you know, is coming to, maybe he's going to have lunch. Is he going to dress like a pauper? No, he's going to dress, you know, people are going to come with him. Imagine the ambassador of the United States in Nigeria going somewhere. He's a representation of the United States in Nigeria. So he has to fully represent. So who are you representing? Are you representing a poor God? Are you representing a rich God? Are you representing a God that has all sufficiency? Are you representing a God that is mightier than the mightiest? Are you representing a God, you know, that at the flicker of his fingers, great things happen? Now, just to say this, when you are at work, do everything you're doing, not as unto men, but as unto God. So see God as your boss. And if God is coming to your office, how would you behave? How would you dress? How would you talk? How would you perform? So perform like you're performing for God, right? Because he's your boss. To be honest, you're not doing it for your boss. You're not doing it for your boss, to be honest. You know, don't do eye service or any of those things. Do it. Do your best, your entire best, and leave the rest to God. Now, the last one here is, what roots do you identify with? I've sort of, you know, communicated this. You have to represent the kingdom of heaven. That is it. You know, don't represent your lineage. Your lineage, they are imperfect, but God is perfect. So you can represent that. And you can keep finding out who you are in God. Now, do we have any questions so far? Or should I just finish the presentation before we ask questions? Please put it in the chat. If you want us to just continue, then ask later. Just put it in the chat. Okay, all right. Now, so key questions. You can also screenshot this because you need to build to develop a personal brand. You need to, you know, introspect a lot. You need to ask yourself a lot of questions. Now, what are my strengths and talents? Now, you see that the initial question I asked about the people that, you know, you liked, you mentioned a few things, you were able to pull out some attributes, their strengths, right? You know, some people speak so well. They speak so well. They are very articulate and all of that. They might not be as good. And to be honest, let me tell you, you should be able to communicate effectively. That is one of the most important skills right now on earth. The people that are really thriving on social media, they're not the best. To be honest, let's just put it out there. They're not the best in their field, but they have taken upon themselves to be the most articulate about that subject matter. So, and that is one of the ways you build a personal brand. You have to put yourself out there. Even the Bible, I think John 1:17 or thereabout, it says, if you have something so good, why wouldn't you show it to the rest of the world? Do you understand? You are a city set on the hill that cannot be hidden. Who will light a candle and put it under the bed? No. So what you know, be free to share it. Be willing, be courageous enough. When God was telling Joshua, when he wanted to go and conquer the land which God has given them, he said, be courageous. Do not be afraid. So you need to go out unafraid. You have to go out with courage and confidence, knowing that there is a backing that you have and that is the host of heaven. So what are your strengths? Articulate and highlight your strengths. What values drive you? What values? All of that. Not surface values. Hey, I don't tell lies. No, not that. Search deeper and dig deeper into those core values that truly define you. Now, what unique value do I bring to the table? So in the context of your office, why have they hired you versus what extra can you do? If they've hired you to do two things, best believe you cannot do just those two things and gain promotion. You have to do at least three things and more. If they've hired you to do X and Y, please be willing to do X, Y, Z, and A. Be willing to do that. That is the only way you show that God is your boss. Because if God says you should do X, you should be willing to do more, right? And that is how people see that this person is willing. The spirit of ownership is upon these people, the spirit of excellence. And going back to the character of Joseph, I love the character Joseph a lot. Joseph never did the assignment he was given alone. He did extra. He did much more. And that was why, Potiphar was able to relinquish. Like Joseph was a big boy in the house of Potiphar. Potiphar relinquished his rights and admin. The only thing Joseph didn't have control over was Potiphar's wife. He had control over everything. It was the chief of staff of Potiphar, right? Because the guy went over and beyond. And look at this. Fast forward when Joseph became, the prime minister of Egypt. Sometimes we just paraphrase that story. We don't know the depth of that story. He had interpreted the dream, but Joseph had to acquire knowledge. He had to do much more, than his call of duty. He had to study how to store grain. He had to study how to harvest grain. He had to study how to store grain for a longer period of time. He had to study how to distribute. He had to study how to save. He studied a lot of things. And I can say for free that Joseph's reign in Egypt was one of the pivotal, reign to making Egypt a world power, because the rest of the world was coming to Egypt to ask for food. So you have to go beyond that, and that is the value you bring to the table. Now, discussion. We might not be able to discuss because of time. I think I have about 10 more minutes. Am I right, Ariola? Am I right about that? How much
Yes,
time?
you can. Okay, you can take like 20 more minutes.
Okay,
Because
all right. Thank you.
you still have a lot to dish out. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So let me just run. So building a brand story. Now, developing your personal brand, you need a story that is believable, a story that is not highfalutin, just plucked out of thin air. No, a story that is real, a story that has human touch. Like Ariola has shared with us, she talked about Oprah Winfrey. Some people talked about Brain Jotter, talked about different people. Those stories are relatable, right? And to be honest, you don't want a story that sort of makes people pity you. Being authentic and vulnerable does not necessarily lead to pity. Do you understand? It shouldn't be a story that when people see you, all they just see is, oh, let's just help this person. No, you have to build a superior story and not some story that people, just shows that, oh, I senior you. No, that's not the story. Oprah Winfrey is a very successful woman for a very long time, but she's still sharing deep things about herself. She's still being vulnerable. She's still being who she is. Like, she has not lost the essence of who she truly is. So you have to develop a brand story. Now, every human is a collection of stories. Every human being, right? So, what story? If you dig deep, I am sure you can develop 10 stories about you right now. For instance, let me cite an instance. Me, a boy that appeared dull, right? But didn't know how to navigate life, but eventually found himself. That is a story. I appeared dull. I wasn't dull. And by the way, there's nobody that is dull on the face of this earth. So people will just say in Yoruba terms, mi olori we. So people will just say that, but there is nobody that is dull. If you really search deep, there are things that you have that nobody else has. And, academics is not the height of life. There are so many aspects to life, to be honest. There are so many aspects to life. But one thing education does to you is it opens your mind. It opens your purview. It opens your worldview to be able to, see the world in a different angle. Do you understand? So education is very, very good. So what narrative? So is there anyone that wants to sort of share a narrative with us in just a minute? The first person to unmute has the floor. Just a narrative you're willing to embrace that, okay, this is who I am, and I'm willing to share this with the world. Anyone? Anyone? Also, let me ask, I mean, it looks like I've been speaking to myself. I need you guys to, turn on your videos so I can also appreciate, everybody on here. So who is willing to sort of share a story that, they're willing to embrace and they're willing to share with the rest of the world? Who? Should I start calling on people? Okay.
Guys, unmute and speak. Oh, I don't want to be the only one talking.
Let me call on someone. I saw one name. The name is supposed to be together, but there is a space in between it. Oluwafumi. I think that is the name. Yes, Oluwakemi. Sorry. It's supposed to be Oluwakemi as one word, but I see Oluwa and Kemi. So can you please speak? Just unmute and speak. Yes.
Is it my Oluwakemi?
Yes, it's your Oluwakemi. It's the only Oluwakemi that is spelled this way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me say this. I didn't want to say anything before. So yeah, I've had this urge to create probably a page and share my story. I have this I have a child that has some kind of disability. I'm in the UK, and when I got to the UK, it was frustrating for me, especially for the fact that I was coming from Finland, where I was comfortable taking care of him and with all the support. So when I got to the UK, it was different. It was like all the information were not there, were not accessible and all that. So, and then one day a colleague called me and said, oh, I think you are troubled. Why are you not concentrating on work and everything? So I shared with him, and he was like, Kemi, call my wife. I was like, call your wife. Like, what am I saying? What are you saying? So he said, just call my wife. So I spoke with the wife, and the wife broke down and said, see, your story is not even as bad as mine. Like,
wow.
Like she has a son that is, sorry, I have distraction. Like she has a daughter. Sorry, she has a daughter that is really that has a whole lot of complications and everything. That is not even half of what I am going through. So she told me what to do. She said, contact this, send an email to this, and from there I was able to access a lot of support. So recently I've just been thinking about it. I've been like, okay, there will be other moms like me, that, going through such situations and no help. They don't even know how to access all this support and everything. And but what has been holding me back? Sorry, please. What has been holding me back is the fact that, putting yourself out there. So everybody now knows you have a child that is going through this situation, and I've just been. So when you called my name, I was like, oh, okay. When you were asking the question, it came to my mind again. Share, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to share. But when you called my name, I know that it was time to share. Thank you. That's my story.
Thank you very much, Oluwakemi. And it shows that we are all working according to the leading of the Spirit, right? So, and one thing I can learn from this, and a principle that is very key in building your personal brand, is if you don't share your story, how will someone else draw strength? If you don't share your story, how will someone else draw strength from it? The thing is this: if someone like Tony Elumelu, maybe a lot of business people respect, right? They respect him. If he comes out straight and say, okay, this was my journey. I used to sell oranges when I was small. I experienced A, B, and C. But at this point, X and Y happened, and I am here now. There is that hope that just swells on your inside that, oh, if this person can go through this, right, and had a worse case than I am or that I have, I can actually go through this. And I mean, I have more information now than when he was my age. I can do better now based on the fact that I've heard his story. Now, you also have to determine how much are you willing to let out, right, to the world. You have to also determine that. In trying to share your story, you have to we'll get there, you have to build like a persona. Who are you speaking to? Are you speaking to moms that need help? Are you speaking to parents that need support? So you have to be able to, describe who you are trying to talk about. Now, thank you very much for that, Oluwakemi. Do we have one more person? Okay, Power Mom support. Okay, yes, you raised your hand. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, I did. Okay, so I'd like to just share a brief story from childhood. So I grew up in a Christian home, Foursquare Gospel Church, and every day of the week we actually went to church, back to back to back to back. But then I realized my relationship with God was actually tied to my folks' relationship with God. For the longest time, I actually struggled with actually hearing God. I struggled with speaking in tongues. I would see my friends, like, we're young, we're little together, and before you know, they're saying shabalabala, like, guy, calm down. How does this thing come to you? I'm a very, very sincere person. I don't know how to fake things. If I'm not feeling it, I can't feel it. And for the longest time, it was actually my rationale really getting in the way. Another issue I had was we read King James Version. The best you could get was New King James, but whatever it was, it has to be King James, because how can you tell that it's actually God speaking if he does not say thou canst, shouldest thou, like how would you know it is actually God? So I realized at a linguistic level, I actually had issues connecting with God.
Wow.
Right? And I just couldn't really connect with this person. Like when people say, God told them, like, how do you people used to hear things? Even till now, it's something it was something my husband actually had to walk me through, that, okay, everybody hears from God, but you need to understand how God speaks to you. And then he shared this book by is it Kenneth Copeland or something? And that was when I actually understood, okay, this is actually it. So I know personally God tells me things. I get instruction from God through dreams. Before things happen, or maybe someone wants to die or something major wants to happen, I must surely dream about it. Before I do any major thing, I actually dream about it. And I also learn God also speaks to me through coincidences. I've always known that one for the longest time. But that one that people will just have, so I just take it as they are just inspired thoughts, and I'm just inspired to do things. So I find it difficult to say the Holy Spirit told me this, God told me this. Do you get? So, and I knew there are people actually in that space who want to know God for themselves and probably work
Absolutely.
their way through to God linguistically. And that's actually one of the things that influenced me to create Ready Writer memes. So I have a page where I share Bible stories using relatable things you can see around you, using modern context. I actually started on Facebook a while ago, where I use, because I wanted to see these characters I can relate with. Like, this language is getting in the way. I'm not really connecting to these people. And I knew there were people who had my frustrations as well. Right. And one of the things that also helps, like when it comes to personal branding, or when it comes to creating solution or being a problem solver, really, for every problem you have, there are other people too who have that problem. So being that bridge, as it were, I have this problem, let me create a space where we all can talk about this. Do you get? That way every other person will feel like, yes, I belong to this. And that's actually one of the ways you can really create a tribe. And Palm Moms, for instance, when I created the page like almost 5 years ago, I just had my son, and I was just frustrated. I felt lonely. Like, I just felt alone in this journey. What is going on? Is there a mom community I can join? And when I didn't see any, I decided to create one. And here we are today. We are doing great stuff, and we are scaling what we do. So that's my own little story.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. And you see that stories just, they help, they elevate you. And you see that the surge of communities is getting higher. I also have a friend, that she has a community of women, and everything they talk about there is sex. It's not gender, like sex, how a man and a woman should have sex with their spouse. especially, and the target audience is women that just actually gave birth. So you see that a lot of women, they lose their esteem when, they've just put to bed, they're just not interested in anything. Like, oh God, leave me, just stay by yourself. You caused this in my life in the first place. Please step aside, and that is what that community is for, to sort of help themselves, support themselves. And you hear a lot of testimonies that, oh, that thing we shared last week, oh, I tried it on my husband and this is what is happening. This is a very interesting group, oh, and I was just psyching her that you people should have me there as a silent member. We just joked about it. But you have to share your stories, and you have to share where it's paining you sometimes, so that people can pick, from your strength. You understand? We have to elevate ourselves. That is very, very important. And women also have to do that. There are so many stories surrounding that gender called women. From when God created man and woman, from the sin and the fall of man, that problem has been happening since. So women, you guys are trying. I don't wish to be a woman, but I want the benefits of being a woman, but I don't wish to be a woman. When I'm coming to this world again, if God permits, I will come as a man. You guys are trying. I salute you and I respect you. Okay, so moving on. Okay, I think at the end of the session, Ariola would share my social media links so that you guys can interact. So I will give this document to anyone that just sends me a DM on Instagram specifically. If you do me a DM on Instagram, I'll share this with you and some other elements or materials that I believe can help. So hold a shirt after this session. Hold a shirt like this. All right. So elements.
I will share it in the group. Once you are
Okay.
off, I will share it in the group. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Somebody asked a question on the chat box. There's a question there. Yes, please.
Sorry, I didn't see that. How can I sell my brand as a fashion designer without involving sexual innuendos? Okay. I like that question. Already, fashion and sex already go hand in hand in your mind, right? Already. So maybe the people you are following, maybe the people that you look up to in the industry, maybe they are people that sort of sell sex, right, to sell their clothes. Now, you need to be able to sell. I don't know so much about the fashion, but I'm a very fashionable person myself. But one thing I can say is this: the difference between a commodity and a brand is what? Is the story behind it, right? Is the story behind it. Now, I don't have a bottled water here. So if I put a bottled water in front of us here and I take out the tag, if I put Nestle, Ariola water, Covenant water, all sorts of water, if I put it in front of you without their label, how do you know which one to trust and buy? How do you know? Can anyone give me the answer? How do you know which one to trust? There's no label, there's nothing. And you have no idea of the image of the bottle. Which one will you buy? You can't. You can't. In fact, if you pour Coke and Pepsi in separate cups and they ask you without even tasting them, right? And they ask you which one is Coke, which one is Pepsi, you are not likely to know. If they go a step further, you smell it, which one is Coke, which one is Pepsi, you are not likely to say. Even if you now taste it, a lot of people are not able to tell the difference. So the same thing. So if you're a fashion designer, right, you have to create something that stands you out. What is that? It might be your story, right? Okay, so for instance, let's say you know how to tell stories. Let's say you know how to tell stories. Now, you can create a fictitious character. You can create a Fumbi, for instance. And while you are showing your process of how you make your clothes, you can just say, oh, Fumbi is a this, she's a this, she wore our custom-made outfit. She wore it to a wedding for the first time, and she met a guy, and fast forward 6 weeks, she was able to, and she said, I do. I'm not such a very good storyteller, but if you're able to use your strength, right? Use your strength to sort of sell what you're trying to sell, and try not to sell. Sell without selling. Sell without saying, come and buy. You know, all of those people that will put their market on their head and say, come and buy, come and buy. All of that, I mean, it's fun to watch, but are you truly building a brand, right? So sell without selling, give value. Also, now, give, and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. This is not talking about tithes and offering alone. No. You know, a lot of people, you know, just take that scripture and they think it is offering and tithes. No, give. You have to give first when you're trying to build a personal brand. You have to give first. Giving precedes followership. Remember, for everywhere Jesus went, he always gave. He will give healing, he will give food, he will give bread. And to put into context, when Jesus fed the 5,000 men, I'm sure there were more than 5,000 there. It was just the men that he said 5,000. The men alone. And you best believe that women and children are always more than men in any gathering. It is 3-1. Women 3, man 1. Best believe. So you are sure to have had about 20,000 people in that gathering. So Jesus gave first. Who was looking for? Who was Jesus looking for? Crowd? Or were the crowd looking for Jesus? The crowd will always look for you if you're giving value, right? So you can teach, educate people about what you're doing. So if one of your content pillars, you know, for your social media or what have you, is, you know, to educate the audience about, you know, what you do. Like, for instance, brand. Brand is a very, very abstract thing, right? And if people don't understand, how will they appreciate and buy what they don't understand? So you have to educate the audience how to do this. Imagine if you do a video or you do content of how people can salvage wardrobe malfunctions, for instance. Like, okay, you're in a party, you were dancing after you have eaten too much small chops, you were just dancing, you know, and your stomach pops out the button. What should you do? That is people need such help. People have been embarrassed. Some people, their husband to be, have just looked at them and said, I'm not marrying. Do you understand? Do you understand? So people need such help. And that might even help you create a product for people to say, okay, outing kit, where you have a box that has needle, thread, and safety pins, and you sell it for X amount, and people can have it in their, you know, pouches and their bags and all of that. So you need to also think about that. So for the sake of time, just screenshot this. So once you send me a DM on Instagram, I'll give you all of this. I might not be able to share all of this because of time, because I still need to entertain questions. All right, exercise, write a short brand story. I'm sure in your private spaces, you'll be able to do this. Now, what's the most memorable part of your journey that you can use to inspire others? I think we have mentioned and talked about this at length. Also, creating an online presence. You have to develop a persona for your audience. So you can say, okay, who is my audience? Or who are the people I'm trying to create content for? Who are the people I'm trying to reach? So you can say for Oluwakemi, you can say women, you know, that are going through natal, is this postpartum?
Postpartum, yes.
Postpartum stress. You know, people that are depressed and are confused on how to navigate raising their children, you know, and maybe moms to be. Do you understand? So if you say those are the people you want to target. Now, if you say moms to be, it means they are consciously trying to have babies. Maybe they are consciously having sex, but there is no pregnancy yet. Maybe there is miscarriage somewhere. So you're now tailoring your content, the things you're putting out there, you're tailoring it to these people because you know the people that you're attending to. You are not attending to people that have been married for 25 years and are looking to undergo a divorce. That is not your business. Maybe you should go next door. That's not your business. So you know your business. Even Jesus said, I am going to the people I have been sent to. He came to die for the entire world, though, but he was sent to a particular group of people. Do you understand? And in the whole of the Bible, it is the Israelites that God called these people? Yes or no? So we are doing brand association with these people. Abraham did not come from my father's lineage, but spiritually, I am linked to him. You understand? So there are people you have been sent to. So look at, develop a persona. So who are the people I'm, even call the person a name. So you can write the person I'm trying to meet. Her name is Folashade. Folashade is 35 years old. Folashade just had a baby. She's been married for X amount of years. She's done this. She is a busy mom. She's confused about career path. She's done this, she's done that. Have like, like 10 things or 20 things about this person so that it will help you channel your energy in attending to the needs of this group of people. Leverage network and relationship. Belong to a community, just like Power Moms support, go out, interact with people, don't isolate yourself. It's not only the idle mind the devil attacks, he attacks the idle person. So don't try to isolate yourself, network, meet people. The prayers we are praying, I'm sure some people around you, if they hear the prayer, they say, stop praying. Take what you are praying for. Pray for me instead. Imagine if someone is disturbing me and praying for 100K. Oh, God, pray for me. Do you understand? Do you understand? So exactly. So leverage networking and relationships. There are some people that if they make a call on your behalf, your life will change forever. Visibility and consistency. You have to show up. How you show up is important. You need to show up every day. You need to be strong. You need to be resilient. But you don't need to show yourself as someone that has figured it all out. You're still, it's evolving. It's evolving. You don't have to show as one perfect person. No, you're not perfect. Nobody is. So recognition will lead to familiarity. Familiarity will lead to trust, and trust will lead to a great brand. Now, when you go to Lai Wasabi's page, you trust that this guy is going to crack you up. So you will go to his page, maybe when you're sad or down, you just want to have a good laugh, right? You will go to his page. When you want to be inspired, there is a page you will go. When you want to belong to a community, you will go to Power Moms support, all of that. So recognition first, are you recognizable in the market, or do you blend with everybody? So you have to stand out to be recognized. Familiarity, people have to be used to you. So it means you are showing up every day and you're consistent. Then after that, trust will now be built. Then you are up to building a great brand. Thank you. And I hope I've convinced you and not confused you that building a personal brand, is very important, for your career goals and everything in between. Questions? Please, if you have questions, over to you, Ariola, just to coordinate the questions and answers. If there are questions.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are super pumped. We have learned so much. You exceeded our expectations, and we just can't wait to go out there to actually start smashing our goals as regards personal branding and knowing how to put ourselves there. Yeah, improve our exposure and visibility. So we'd love to have questions at this point. You're free to unmute yourself and speak, or maybe ask in the comment section, what is that thing that is really bothering you as regards personal branding? So maybe you have an issue probably with maybe picking a look, for instance. Okay, which one should I even stick to? What kind of hair should I be doing? What kind of colors? What do you think is so? Okay, is it pro want to? Is it pro, Abby? Yeah, she wants to ask a question. Kindly unmute, please. You're good.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. It's been amazing in here. I've joined since 12 noon, and trust me, I usually don't stay this long on a session, but it's been very interesting and engaging. Thank you to the speakers, and I really appreciate. My name is Fadikemi. Talking about personal branding. I have a couple of businesses I run, but I'm not the type that want to put my face to it. How best can I drive it? I'm on social media actively. I do my post at intervals. I get deals on social media, but I really don't like putting my face to it. I don't know if there's something I can do to enhance the brand. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you very much. First, can I see your face?
Oh.
I want to see your face. I want to see this face that you're hiding from the rest of the world. I am sure that the face
Oh
will be
my
beautiful.
God.
I want to see the face. I must see your face today.
Okay.
I want to see her face. Please raise your hand, though.
This is you putting me on spot.
Yes, so.
Okay, so here is the face. I think my camera is okay. Yeah, it's better.
All right. If you think this face
She's
should
really
be,
beautiful. You're right.
if you think this face should be a representation of a brand, please give her a thumbs up on the chat. If you think should be a representation of a brand, just give her a thumbs up. First, I must tell you, this. What's your name? It's your name.
My name is Fadikemi.
Okay, Fadikemi. First, you have to tell yourself you're beautiful, right? And you need to ask yourself, why am I shying away from putting my face out there? You might be scared of rejection. You might be scared of, would accept me? You might be saying, there might be something fighting you from when you were smaller or when you were younger. Maybe whenever you raised your hand in class, the teacher was just, I beg, you that you're always scoring 5/20. I beg, sit down. Do you understand? So some things in your past might actually be haunting you and might be shaping the decisions you're making, right? So you might be scared of how will these people react to when I share my content, or how? Do you understand? Do you get
Yes, I
what?
do.
You have to put yourself out there, but you have to also limit. If you say I don't want to show X and Y, then do you understand? But now, a personal brand is even better for a business to thrive. A personal brand is even better for a business to thrive. Now, there's something called brand association. Right? Now, for every time you saw the disciples in the Bible, they will go and meet Jesus. Why are they eating without washing their hands? They associated the disciples with Jesus, right? Now, look at, let me bring it back to 21st century. Look at Steve Jobs and Apple. Who did you think was doing the other a favor? Steve Jobs doing Apple a favor, or was Apple doing Steve Jobs a favor? Folake, please help us. Was Steve Jobs
I
doing
didn't get that correctly. I got distracted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Was Steve Jobs doing Apple a favor, or was Apple doing Steve Jobs a favor? In terms of brand association, who had a bigger brand? Who had a better brand back then when the business? No, it's Steve Jobs. It's Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, his brand was bigger as at then. So even the business leveraged on who he was.
That's why they could buy into it.
Exactly. Now, I know you know a brand, this Jazzy Burger. You know it?
Yes.
You know Jazzy Burger, right? Would you like to eat it? Yeah, I would like to eat it because of the hype, right? I would like to eat it because of the hype, right? But the thing is this, there is Burger King. These people have experience in burgers, right? They've been selling burgers for over 20 years, right? So they cannot have experience more than Burger King, Abi. But now, Don Jazzy has brought out Jazzy Burger, right? And it is way expensive than
the regular one.
So no. No, it's not Mama Harris's burger. Burger King. Don Jazzy's burger is more expensive than Burger King's burger in Nigeria. Yes or no?
Yes.
What is he leveraging, please?
Personal brand.
His personal brand. He is milking it.
Well, I'm not a shy person. I'm quite outspoken too. But my issue is I literally just feel the Gen Z baddies do it better. So me coming out now and okay, I'm into gifts items and liquid wash and cleaning products in general. So me coming out, I just look at them like, I want that they are always sleeping and waking up on Instagram. Where do I want to start from that? Well, let me just be doing my bit and oftentimes I get responses and I tell myself, I'm not even active on these pages. And I get orders, I fulfill orders, literally with people I don't even know, even with my less attention and my less drive. So I felt, okay, if there's if I now put in more effort, that means, it will be worth the time all the while. But putting my face to it is one of my major challenge. And I don't know. And with your analysis, well, I think I'll give it a try.
Give it a try, and have an accountability partner in the community. Do you understand? Maybe Ariola
True.
can come up with something where you guys check on yourselves on different
We have
aspects.
we have something like that already. We have
And
designed something for that accountability
that's
system,
I
a
have a
body system. Yes.
okay.
Oh,
Okay, now
that's
one thing
great.
I'll tell you, one thing you must stop doing now is this. Even the Bible said it. He who compares himself to others is a fool. Fool. He who compares himself with others is a fool. Now, we are all wise people. The wise thing you need to do is put yourself out there. Don't look at anybody. You can only learn from people, but don't put yourself down based on what people. And now, another thing is this. Let's say 100 people or 100 million people are doing what you're doing. Have you ever seen anyone that is doing what you are doing with your experience and your background and with your fine face? Have you ever seen that person online before?
I'm coming.
Have you ever?
Quite really. Not exactly.
Because it doesn't exist. So you are depriving the world from experiencing your point of view. You understand? And that is what you're doing. It's not fair. You are not fair, Fadikemi. You are not fair. That
Ah.
is not. It's not. It's not good. It is not
Oh
good.
my. Okay.
Fejiro. Okay. Have I been able to answer your question, Fadikemi?
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for the push. I really appreciate. Thank you so much.
Okay. Please stop hiding. Come out. All right. Fejiro, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. You have really inspired some of us who have been burying our lights for too long. I want to ask different questions because before I relocated recently, I used to own a business, and although I'm not very I'm not doing it that much presently, but I still want to grow knowledge in it because I hope to eventually go back to it. So the question is this: when I started tailoring, I went to a program. I don't know if you know this lady called Toju Foye. She's a big fashion designer in Nigeria. So she did like a master class that we paid for, and I went. And while she was talking, this was many years ago, maybe 7 years ago or thereabouts, she said she came back to Nigeria. Okay, so questions are people start asking questions on how to meet people and how to network. So she said when she came back to Nigeria, she met Tiwa Savage. This is 7 years ago, but that question bugs me so much because I have been going out, but I have not met Tiwa Savage on the road. Neither have I met one big celebrity that I want to make clothes with. Although she didn't go deep, of course she was born into money, so it's possible that she can meet Tiwa Savage in her escapade in life. But I have been up at 2 degrees in University of Lagos. I have not met Tiwa Savage. So I want to know how I can network and meet people who can pay for the services that I can give. That's one. And number two, something about what this lady just finished talking about thinking that I might not be doing this social media thing very well, so I might as well just give up on it. I also suffer the same problem because I'm somebody that if you message me on Instagram, best believe that message I won't see it until 3 years time. And I sell it. My brand is on Instagram, but best believe that if you don't send me a WhatsApp message, I always say that the last social media my generation got involved with was Facebook. So you see all the Snapchat and TikTok. I'm just recently trying to get myself into all of those. So I also have that belief that I might not be doing it as much as these people, and I want to. Right now, before I said I won't do it, but now I want to. So how do I convince myself that I'm doing something that I'm not fooling myself? Those are my questions.
Thank you very much. The first is the Tiwa Savage thingy, right? I mean, you have to It's a very interesting question, I must say. Thank you, Fejiro. Different people meet different people for different reasons, right? So they might have met themselves at a club, they might have met themselves at someone else's party. It could have been anything, right? But one thing I'll say, an idea came to my mind while you were talking. Now, you know, Tiwa Savage, I think she acted a movie recently, right? Yeah. It was my wife that even made me know that the Tiwa Savage was in a movie. Now, one thing you can do as a fashion person, you know, what have you done for someone for free in the last few months?
Okay.
I'm not saying you should pack all your savings so and go and do something for free. Do strategic things. Now, if you know someone that is maybe into the movie industry, for instance, and they're about to shoot a movie, you can tell them, can I clothe your main character? Can I clothe your main character? How many scenes, you know, will your main character show up? So if it is 10 scenes, right, you know that you can clothe, it's not dash, oh. It's not dash. If they were going to boutique, maybe they will return the cloth. It's not dash. So out of the 10 clothes you're making, right, tailor-made for that person, after the end of the 10, whatever, the movie production, if you dash the person 2 and take your remaining 10 and take it home and go and sell it or go and adjust it to suit your own size, haven't you done something great? Now, how did I get this idea? My wife shared something. There was one movie we watched, and I think there was Deyemi there was this other lady there. And my wife's friend, they graduated from Covenant University together and all of that. And when we were reading the credits, we saw her brand. She was the one that, you know, did the wardrobe, everything. You know, she was struggling here in Nigeria back then. Now our brand is now, you know, in the UK. Do you understand? So she was the one that arranged and, you know, the wardrobe for that particular movie. So if you are willing to do that, see, if you belong to a community, how can you sort of leverage that community, right? So if you also draw out who your clients are, you'll be able to say, okay, this is what they really need. Do you understand? That's number one. Number two, how flexible are you as a person? With what you have said, I don't think you are very flexible. Without your second question, how flexible are you, Pedro?
How flexible I am. I am flexible. Okay, or I am, let me put it this way, I am learning now to be flexible because I realized that I don't want to wake up and be 50 and not scratch the surface of my potential. I don't want, that would be very, every day I tell myself, you are getting old, you are getting old, you are getting old. So that's my greatest fear right now. So I am trying so hard, or let me not say I'm trying so, I'm desiring to now make use of social media tools, regardless of what it is, Twitter, Instagram, like I've seen that the less of these things I know about, the less of my potential I am able to use. So I am beginning to want to be flexible. Let me put it that way.
Just to tell you, not everybody will be very good at using social media. That's the honest truth. So if you can, you know, outsource, right? If you can outsource that part of your life, even better for you, so that you can focus on more strategic things. So if you have one aburo somewhere, one younger person, or someone that you can be paying a token, right? And say, okay, for every 10x, I give you 1y. For every 20x you do on social media for me, I give you 2y. Now, you said something about if you put a message on your Instagram or your social media that you're not likely to answer for the next 3 years. I had lost a job because of that before. Before I became active on Instagram, the person had sent me a message about a year ago and I didn't see it. This is not even 3 weeks, so this was 1 year ago and I didn't see. And this was such a prominent person that I would have sort of built a relationship with and, you know, done great jobs for. So if it's not your forte, right, make someone, give someone that administrative power. And also maybe you can put your WhatsApp number on your social media, but if there's problem there, there is a problem with that because everybody will now have access to your number and you might lose your peace in doing this. So I hope I've been able to answer your question. Fejiro? have I done a good job in responding? Okay, fantastic. I can't hear you, but I saw your nod. Okay, another question. Kehinde Soni, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, and
Yeah, good afternoon.
I'm happy to be here finally because I've not been able to join because of the next.
Okay.
My question is, and I've been doing business right from university, and
You can turn off your video if it's affecting your what's it called? If it's
but one
affecting your
thing I find difficult doing,
sorry,
I
you can turn on your video if it's affecting your
like okay, let me paint a scenario.
Okay.
Like I learned makeup.
Sorry, can anyone hear Kehinde?
Her network seems to be acting up.
Yeah, I think she can turn off her video.
Can the next person go so we don't take a lot of time waiting for her to speak? Amanda, can you go? Can you take over, please? Ask a question. While Kehinde is getting ready for hers, hopefully her network will be better.
Okay. What I wanted to ask is about branding, and I want to ask in case of perseverance, how do we persevere through the tough times in building brands? And also, with that, at least we could know what to achieve next, and what are some challenges that we should prepare our minds for, that we can face regarding catalyzing, bringing innovative ideas, just innovations. And lastly, my question would be, what are your tips, what you used in growing your company? And we need that, sir. Thank you. The tips you use in
Sorry,
growing
our
your...
speaker is so sorry, Amanda. Amanda, our speaker is going to speak to personal branding, not necessarily hardcore business, because that is not what he prepared for. But if you feel like speaking to that, just so we don't divert the attention from the core of the presentation today, and also for time, Kini. Do you get? So sorry for time management, not Kini. Yeah,
No
but
problem.
he's free to choose which one he can speak to.
Okay, no problem.
The question, and thank you for that, Aniola. What I can say is this: you can reach out to me personally. I can give you there are some materials that we've curated for business owners, especially for SMEs. We can give you some materials that you pay a token for. So you can do that, or you can have a one-on-one session, which is what we do, for businesses that require this. All right, I hope that answers your question. Amanda, I hope that answers your question. Okay, fantastic.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any more questions? All right, you're welcome. Any more questions?
Kehinde left and she's back in, so I think she was having issues with her network. Kehinde,
Okay.
do you have your question, or can you speak now? We've taken so much of our speaker's time. We've taken a lot of his time.
I took out 2 hours for the purpose of this meeting.
Oh, thank you so much.
So I presume Kehinde is the final question, right? Or do we have any other one?
There are no other hands raised. Let me check the comment section if we have any. Okay, so someone says if you want to make caps that is so different businesses that are not related, how this impacts the story you put out while working on your personal brand. So she's asking if you have multiple brands that are not related, how to put a cohesive personal brand together. Yeah. So I don't know if that relates to business, maybe how you can use your personal brand to speak to these two brands, or maybe these two brands will have their unique brand personas or their brand identities rather, or you can use your personal brand to actually feed these two brands. I think, Abigail, hope I.
Okay, so like I was saying, there has to be one thing. There has to be one thing you be known for, right? So let me use Jesus, the perfect example. Jesus had so many aspects to him. He's a public speaker. Let me put it that way, right? Jesus used to do a lot of seminars, a lot of webinars, but Jesus also liked fine dining, right? So Jesus could have easily been a food critic for all you care, right? He liked fine dining. He liked, because when he met with was it
You
the
like
tax collector?
networking.
He likes networking. He likes fine dining. I mean, Jesus wants to come to your home to come and dine with you, right? To come and have a good time. Jesus was a perfect carpenter, right? Another business Jesus could have done was have a library, right? Have a library because he could have been a good history student because he liked to read, especially about the prophets, the things of the old, and all of that. So Jesus has so many sides to him. But what do you know Jesus for? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you really know him for all these few things that I've mentioned? What do you really know him for? So you will know Jesus for one thing. He came to the world to die. That's what we know, right? So there has to be one thing you'll be known for. But that doesn't mean you should totally throw away every other thing. So like I was having a session recently, and someone asked me a similar question. And I said, the bigger the industry, right, the smaller your niche. So if you're working in a small company, maybe you have just 3 staff, you might even be doing 5 things for all you care. But if you now have a company that they have 5,000 staff, they've hired you for a specific need. So you have to niche. So at some point, so the bigger you get, the more specific and narrow your job descriptions have to be, the bigger you get. So now you can still try several things to know what really works for you as a personal brand, But as you keep getting up the ladder, as you keep getting bigger, there has to be one thing you'll be known for. I hope that answers your question, Abigail. Just give me a thumbs up if it does. Kehinde, please go ahead.
Yes, the network has really been dealing with me. Okay, my question is that okay, like the scenario I was painting, ever since school days, I've been into businesses and I've been growing, but life goes on. After marriage, I stopped and I started back like 2 years ago. So I went back to learn the makeup and started again. But unfortunately, the morale went down when my friend, a close friend of mine, when she came into the picture and she was like, Mama, do you want to start collecting? And I was like, the normal rate they collect now, I mentioned the price and she was like, no, why will you collect the price? It's too high, it's too this. And she went on and on like that. I'm supposed to start small, start with 1,000 naira. And I was like, wow, is that the amount they do? I made she even went as far as comparing me to someone and all that. But eventually I went home, I cried, I did all sorts. And ever since then, let me just say the morale went down and I've not been able to go back as normal. So my question is, how do I handle people like that?
Okay, the answer is very simple now. You have to surround yourself with the right people. So I don't know how close the person is to you, but maybe you shouldn't discuss. If it's someone you cannot stay away from, then don't discuss your personal things with her. That's just it. You have to surround the right people. The Bible said something: guard your heart with all diligence, for there comes the issues of life. See, there is no, you cannot compromise, the value you give to the protection of your heart and your peace. Do you understand? You have to follow peace with all men. So your heart, guide it, guide it, guard it, protect it, shield it, padlock it. Do you understand? So any negative or cantankerous information that wants to sort of have its way into your heart, don't let it in. Do you understand? Don't let it in. Now, you might actually have been dealing with low self-esteem or whatever before. Then she will now drop her own ingredients into your pot. The pot you are still trying to adjust. She will now come and drop her own package on you. Who does makeup for 1,000 naira? Who does that? No. In fact, do you know that lowering your costs doesn't necessarily guarantee that more people will come?
Yeah.
Do you know that? This is one thing I tell executives. Lowering your cost does not necessarily guarantee that more people will come. So do all your math, your cost price, everything you've bought, your equipment versus the travel time versus your own profit that you want to make. Do you understand? Like, have all of those. I don't know the metric you guys use, but you can have a metric that you use to calculate. If you do, I know people that do makeup for 15K now. There are people that do makeup for 50K, for 200K. Do you understand? Oh, you want 1K? What's 1,000? What can that even do? You can even move you from point A to point B. Please stay away from that person. Stay away
And
from
the
that
kind
person.
of product you use, Seth, will also determine
Exactly.
how you price. Okay, so sorry, let me quickly add a little something. So my husband and I run a digital marketing company, and we had a prospect recently in the tech space. And it's something I really, really have my eyes on because I tried my hands on software development a while back, and I think I'm in a very good space to actually sell tech, like something I can really offer value for tech startups. And then she spoke to me, they want to do this, they want to boost their visibility, they want more people to like know about them, boost their awareness and everything, and asked for how we charge. I said, okay, I'll share our rate card with you. I didn't even share the dollar rate card with her. It's the naira extra. But from that point, she just changed. Like, she just became very like, no. And she was now sharing other people's rate card with me. I like, hold up 1 second. To start with, the people you are talking about, we are not competitors. Like, it's not like I'm trying to brag, but if you know what you are doing, you know what you are doing. What are we bringing to the table? What value are we bringing to? Are you trying to build a brand, or you just want to have posts on your page? Let's know exactly what we are doing. The quality of training investment you've made in yourself will determine the quality you are dishing out, and invariably, it is a no-brainer. You have to charge your worth. In fact, some people will not even do business with you because you are charging at a particular, like, you're a low ticket person. They are just in doubt of your competence from that point. I'd rather offer my service to you for free based on, I think we can have a symbiotic relationship. You have something you can offer me, I have something I can offer you. I can do that. I can decide to. My mommy gave me one idea, like when I was selling bags. I started out making handmade bag, and Tommy was actually part of the story too, because I remember then he used to give me so many business ideas. Do like this, do like that. But then I'm like, well, I just want to sell bag. I didn't really know much about personal brand. I'm talking about far back in 2013, 14 thereabout, and you give me so many ideas. And then my mommy told me one thing, because she too was into fashion accessory, bags and shoes, and she would say, don't ever reduce your price to anybody. You can give them for free instead of having to reduce. Just say, you know what, I dash you this thing. Because those people you reduced for, they will tell that person, oh, something I bought from her for 12K. She wants to sell it for you. For don't mind her, in fact, tell her to collect 10K. But when you give her for free, you know that she cannot go and say she got it at this price. She can say, she actually gifted me. It has more dignity than having to reduce your price point. They will always, in fact, don't even do it. It's best you don't, and know the kind of people you are relating with, know the kind of clients you are pushing your services to. Some people don't deserve your time. They'll just end up draining your energy. And people who actually offer the least, I'm not saying this to, we are all in different spaces. It's not like they don't have value for their brands, but probably their pockets at that point. And maybe they don't even know what exactly they want. So is it the kind of makeup you want that when you go out in the sun or you just dance small, Mary is one side, K is on the other? Do you get? So what quality, and be sure that you yourself, you're a person of value. You are bringing excellence to the table. So when you are charging your worth, you are telling them, ma, there's no there's no need to fight. This is what I charge, and I have a fine line of like customer referrals. You can just go to my page and see what people are saying about me. So that's one of the ways you can go about that. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We are not meant for everybody. So yeah, find your own, find your community, find your voice, and go for it. All right. So have I been able to answer your question, Kendi?
Yeah.
Yes. Don't sell yourself short for anybody. All right. You're welcome. All right. I believe that was the last question.
Yes,
Any other
yes,
question
yes.
anyone has, they can share on the group. I and Arinola will
Yeah,
talk about it later.
definitely, definitely. Thank you so much, Tony. We are super blessed. We are super honored to have you. I knew you're going to do a fantastic job. Like, I put my name behind you, like, just come, this person is going to finish everything you want for you. Thank you so,
Thank
so
you, sir.
much. We are super excited, super elated to have you, and we just can't wait to see what great stuff will come out from this. So, like you said, send him. I've sent the link to the group. I've also sent the link to his handle here. Please, let's follow him. Let's follow him en masse. Let's show him love. Send him DMs for that nugget he has to share. We really, really, really need it. Yeah, so just do that, and we can't wait to see what we'll get from there. So thank you all so, so much for coming, for stopping by. We're meeting again next week. Let's try to join in on time so we don't stretch our time too much. Yeah, thank you all for coming today. We'll meet in the group. Bye. You can unmute and say your thank you before stepping out.
Thank you very much. Thank you
Very
so
much.
much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.